Welcome, everybody, to the Breachers Season 2 EU Final Four. My name is Nightfire with two E's. I'm joined by my co-caster, Gibular Bob. And we have a pair of matchups today, Bob, that I think a lot of folks are looking forward to.
Oh my goodness, yes, absolutely. I mean, we have been waiting 11 weeks of regular season, then we had a Challenger Cup that we had to get through, then we had the top 8 that we had to get to, but we are finally here in the final weekend for EU of Season 2 here. We've got, two fantastic semifinals matchups today. Tomorrow, we've got the EU Grand Finals and the Bronze match. I think we're going to see a lot of great games between these teams today.
Absolutely, and the matchups we have this afternoon are Acer and Ragnarok. You're seeing their names below us, and we'll talk about them first. And the second matchup is Immortality versus IV. IVI, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call them. That will be the second matchup immediately after this. Both matchups are best of threes, meaning that if a team wins 2 maps, they will move on to play in the grand finals tomorrow. So, quite a bit on the line when we do consider that there is a hearty cash prize pool for EU for first and second place on the line. I think $1,900 in cash for first and $850 in cash for second. It is a lot to be shooting for, and it's certainly on these teams' minds this afternoon, Bob. And we'll talk about Acer and Ragnarok because that's the first matchup we're going to be jumping in today. What are your thoughts on this series? Acer EU, of course. NA is not fighting against EU this afternoon. They have two divisions. Acer EU going up against Ragnarok.
Yeah, Acer EU doing, very typical Acer things, sitting at the top of their leaderboard in their respective region. No, yeah, they joined the season a little bit later, but they've already racked up an impressive 7-0 win-loss ratio. I mean, they've beaten every team they've gone against: Ragnarok, Ivy, Sunset Ravens, Immortality, Cheeky Breachy, Niffin, and Ragnarok. Again, that's their entire match history. But Ragnarok, a team that I think has really started off, and they needed to find a bit of footing, but they've really found it recently, and they've been consistently getting better and better and better. And so I think we're going to see a fantastic matchup against these, or between these two teams this afternoon, as we do see. I mean, Ragnarok, they've played 13 games. 6-4-3. That means they've won 6 games, lost 4, tied 3. They've you know, they've gone against Acer EU. They did lose the last time they played them. But yeah, I mean, they've been putting in a consistent amount of rounds each and every single game. I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do here in this matchup today.
It's an exciting series that we will be diving into in roughly 15 minutes from now. So if you are curious when this matchup starts, it's about 15 minutes. This is the pre-show. If you're not aware, where we're chatting about these matchups and where we think these matchups are going to go. So when we look at this one, Acer Ragnarok, Bob, where do you see us headed? Who's going to come out on top? I'll go first. I'll make it easy for you, and I'll go with Acer. The undefeated squad, I think, is going to remain undefeated. It's not going to be an easy task by any means. Ragnarok going to be a tough challenge for them, but I am very interested in seeing. I think they'll be advancing forward this afternoon.
Yeah, you know, I've made a lot of predictions in these previous weeks, and a majority of them have been wrong. So we'll see. But I'm going to go with Ragnarok because, well, you know, I've worked with some people on Ragnarok before. I've seen them play quite a few times this season. I think they have the capacity to bring it all the way here and find a victory against Acer EU. They got pretty close. It was 10-14 the last time they played Acer EU, so that was particularly close. And yeah, I think we're gonna see a great matchup between them. Now we got another one coming up.
Yep.
IV versus Immortality. Well, let me hear your take on this one. Who do you think's moving on?
Well, first off, I do have to say apologies to the EU folks there. I did have the Acer NA roster on there, so I do apologize. IV versus Immortality. They have not rebranded to Eternity EU technically, right, on the Immortality side, but not yet. So I have their roster here, right? They are Immortality. There we go. I had Immortal up there. Had the wrong Immortal up there. Immortality versus IVI EU. And I think IVI have really stepped up to the task of that second place position. And I do think that an IVI Acer finals is something that a lot of folks are looking forward to. So I very much anticipate that IVI will be coming out on top this afternoon. But just like Ragnarok does have a fighting chance against Acer, I think out of any matchup, this Immortality IVI matchup could be our closest one of the weekend.
I know, you know, I've been interviewing teams for a little while, and one of the questions that I've consistently asked is, are there any teams that they're particularly worried about? I've always heard IV. I think IV was the team that came up the most when I asked about those, because they are just a tremendous team. They took a small hiatus around season 1, but they came back this season with a vengeance. Yep. And they have consistently stayed at the top of their region as well. I believe they only ever lost one game, and that was to Acer EU. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, if we do get to that IV and Acer EU finale, I think that would be... Yeah, I think that would be, I mean, that would be a big grudge match, because last time IV went against them, they lost. They put them, you know, the only loss on their record, yep. Which I think stung a little bit. So I'm sure IV is ready to face off against Acer EU in the finals. But yeah, I mean, it could go between, I don't know. I think it could really go either way between any of these teams.
When we look at, I think there's also obviously the roster sort of situation going on here. I think I have to make sure I got my facts right, because I don't know which team is the one that needed the extra time this afternoon, because we were going to schedule to start at 9 today, actually, but we actually had that pushed to 9:30. I think it was Acer EU needed a fifth. I think there's a chance they might still start with 4 if that fifth isn't available. So they may not even be in peak shape. Actually, that might be... Is that Ragnarok maybe that's having the... One of those teams is having the roster issues, which is why we had to delay an extra 30 minutes here for the EU side. So I am interested to see if we are going to have those full rosters in effect here coming up in just 10 minutes' time for that first matchup between Acer and Ragnarok. But I think we're going to, again, I'm looking forward to the EU series. And again, apologies for having the Acer NA roster up there for a little bit. I know folks were absolutely losing their minds over it, but it's okay. It's been fixed, and we are going to be actually taking a quick break here so we can get ready for that first matchup, which is coming up in about 10 minutes. So I am very much, again, looking forward to that. We actually have some exclusive interviews as well for these top 4 teams, Acer and Immortality, stepping up and offering a little bit of insight into how they're feeling going in to this Final Four, into what is going to be the grand finals next tomorrow. I mean, this weekend is packed, Bob. There's a lot to look forward to. Do stick around, but we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be the start of Acer versus Ragnarok. You're not going to want to go anywhere. It's only the beginning of the EU Final Four. Welcome, everyone, to the Breachers VRML Top 4 EU interview series. My name is Nightfire with 2 E's, and I am joined here by Acer EU. From left to right, we have Mr. Tabs, Hickman, Makamo, Gooblin, Rise, Brazil, and Stickosaurus, all joining me this afternoon for an interview. And Gooblin, your squad's coming off of a solid victory from last weekend in that top 8 single elimination bracket up against Nexus. You know, how does it feel now to be going in the semifinals? You have your you're going up against Ragnarok. Is that who you expected to be battling this weekend?
No, Rise, I'll let you answer this one.
Yeah, well, so it was, to be honest, we thought their game would be a lot closer, but I think Cheeky Breachy were missing a few key players, which is a shame, but, you know, it happens. It's happened in previous seasons. But in preparation, because we thought it would be either Ragnarok or Cheeky Breachy, we've been working on the strats that we've used across the whole season, and we've just trying to perfect them as best as possible, because they worked against them once. They'll surely work again in the semis, so, you know, that's what we've been working on.
Is there anything that you think you guys need to improve on going into the next round? And, you know, how do you work on that in your practices?
So I think there's a lot we need to improve on. First of all, our communication's detrimental to our performance. I'm a substitute, I can't say that much, but I've seen it firsthand, and we need to improve it, guys. Come on, get the bio, fellas. That's what I'm talking about.
Rise, you said you're doing some match review and stuff. Do you have scrims scheduled this week as well, or are you guys taking it easy leading into this weekend?
Well, we're definitely taking it easy. I mean, we haven't had any scrims since Saturday, but we're definitely looking to, you know, there's other leagues that we're in, so we're going to play those games before the weekend, and then maybe get the odd scrim or 2 as we head in. But to be honest, we're really confident with what we've made. We've had a look over some different maps that we haven't played as much, so I guess we have consolidated our strats on that. But apart from that, we're feeling fine. We're feeling very confident.
And I guess we could either go down the list or just get a few opinions. You know, who do you think you're going to be if you advance on to the finals on Sunday? If you defeat Ragnarok, who do you think you'll be going up against, IVI or Immortality, in those finals?
I would say definitely Ivy, probably. I just think they're the better team in my opinion. I feel like they're more prepared than most other teams. They do a lot more strats and things like that, I would say.
And Rise, are you doing anything to prepare for the finals as well? Are you looking that far ahead right now, or are you just focused on the matchup on Saturday?
We definitely have high hopes for finals, but it's really important, like I said in the previous interview, you don't get too overconfident, because I keep saying this to the guys, anything can happen. So we're definitely just taking it semi-finals first, and then again, we'll be happy with second place, but obviously we'll aim to, I guess, increase the what I'm looking for is like the pressure that we put on in the semis, hopefully for Sunday as well.
Awesome. I think that's really all I have for you guys this afternoon. We've already asked most of the questions we had for you last weekend. And again, congratulations on advancing through this weekend. Good luck on your semis and finals matches. The best of luck to you. Any final shout outs before we go? Anything I don't have to cut out?
Okay,
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Get back on wall. Get back
No,
on
I
wall.
think that's it. I think that's definitely it. I think you just
Thank you,
Okay,
Levi.
thank you guys
I didn't
so
get
much
this.
for tuning in.
No,
Thank you for
back
the
on
interview,
wall,
Acer.
Michael.
definitely
Appreciate it.
don't let them stop.
Yeah,
you
my
right
headset
there.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Breachers of VRML. I'm your host, Gibular Bob, and today we have Immortality, or Eternity EU. And, well, they are one of our semi-finalists. So today with me, I've got Zav, I've got Niall, but we do just have a couple of very quick questions for you. So starting off, how does it feel to move on to the semi-finals? You went up against Formula 3 EU. There was a couple of close moments, so how does it feel to kind of make it past that hurdle?
Yeah, I mean, we were expecting to get to this point. Obviously, F3
Right.
probably gave us more of a challenge than we thought, but no, obviously, what can you say? It's great to be a semi-finalist. You know what I mean? Playing in the big screens, you know, it's fun. It's fun.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, I'm actually very happy to make it to semis. As last season, I got knocked out by this op, and it was very close. I believe it was like 6-6, 6-6, 7 something. So it was very close. But I'm happy that we're in semis. We predicted we'd get to semis anyway. It's just we're hoping now to get to grands, and if we can, then it'll be a major achievement for us in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, grand finals going to be coming up the day after semifinals. So, will there be a well, I guess before I ask that, is there anything you think you need to improve on before the semifinals?
I think my main thing for the team is discipline. So we're trying to get that kind of discipline into the games. So trying to
Right.
slow down, make sure we're not like playing like control point basically. But yeah, that's the only thing. I think if we get that down, chill out, like the teamwork actually plays a team, chill.
Absolutely, Niall.
Yeah,
anything to add
basically,
there?
literally the same thing. We need to stop being so indecisive with what we do sometimes, and just stick to one thing. And then if that don't work, then we move on and play as a team, because we haven't really been doing that. And for me personally, I need to stop being indecisive as well with what headset I'm gonna play on, because I keep switching, and it's annoying, bro. I keep switching from Quest to CV, and it's actually so bad, bro.
Well, hopefully you can. Hopefully, there's just one headset to use for
And
the
hopefully in
semifinals.
finals, my gun doesn't shoot to the other side of the map like it has before. horrendous tracking, bro.
So, how are you going to prepare for the semifinals? I guess we've talked about working on that discipline, but maybe after the semifinals, say you get through. How are you going to prepare for those finals? I mean, that's going to be the day after, so you don't have a whole lot of time to prepare. You're going to take it easy. How are you going to work on your team's performance?
I mean, as you said, after the semi-finals, it's going to be we're just going to have to chill. The hype, obviously, for winning semi-finals is going to be great. The two opponents on the other side of the bracket, Ragnarok and Acer, both in our league records, we've come very close and beaten Ragnarok, and then we've haven't beaten Acer. So obviously, I think that day it would just be taking a break, maybe running a few maps to try and find some sneaky stuff, which is what we've been doing already. So wait for that on the stream. But yeah, just find a few tricks up our sleeves that we can find within a day's notice. But
Are you more worried? Let me ask you this, Niall. Are you more worried about IV, or are you more worried about Acer EU or Ragnarok?
I'm more worried about IV than any of those teams.
Really
Right,
interesting.
and let me tell you why. So Ragnarok, they have some really good players that can stand out, right? They're not unbeatable. They're a beatable team.
Right.
We've done it in scrims. We came close in our first VRML match. We beat them in BCO, and we beat them again in VRML. Did we beat them in VRML again, Zev? Or did we not play them again?
I think no, when we played VRML, it was like 6-6 something.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then like I feel like Acer, that you can learn them, play them, blah blah blah. You scrim them quite a bit. But with Ivy, they're unpredictable. They can either play one way or another, or like just mumble jumbled around, and they're just a team that is very hard to predict sometimes. And you never know.
All right, awesome. Well, of course, we do thank Zadavislav and Niall for giving us the opportunity to interview them, and you can catch their match coming up this Saturday against IV EU, the EU team. And then after that, they may have the potential to move on to the finals. But for now, that is going to do it for us over here at the Breachers VRML. I'm Gibular Bob. This has been Niall and Zav with Immortality. We'll catch you all in the next interview. Have a great rest of your night, everybody.
Welcome, everybody, to the Breachers Season 2 VRML Final 4 for the EU. My name is Nightfire with 2 E's. I'm joined by my co-caster, Gibular Bob. And Bob, we have ourselves an exciting day today. Action-packed with 2 best-of-3s for the EU side and 2 best-of-3s for the NA side. We didn't talk about it in the pre-show, but NA is right after this, where we'll be jumping in and casting what is going to be the VRML Con qualifiers. I know a lot of folks looking forward to that. I'm very much anticipating North America and their series there. But for now, Final 4 EU. And we got to stay focused because it's a big series. Acer EU versus Ragnarok. I've predicted Acer. Bob, you're saying, I know you said off Ragnarok has a chance here against Acer EU, but we're seeing full rosters on both sides. So what do you think we're going to get here today?
Well, they certainly weren't. I guess they got their player trouble sorted out, or it could potentially be another team. But yeah, I mean, we've got Gooblin, Mr. Tabs, Rise, Vino, and Hickman over on Ragnarok, Casey, Mark, TJ Clark, Blam Fam, and Scottish Ripper. So I think these are the starters for both sides.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they are prepared, and they are going to hop into the first map here. I can't quite see what they've picked out, but looking at that matchup data, best map for Acer EU, Arctic, 40 rounds played, 70% of them won. Over on Ragnarok, 91 rounds played. On Hideouts, 63% of the rounds played there. So yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure what the ban was here. Now Ragnarok got to ban 1, so you know, I have a feeling we're going to see Hideout here because that is a map that Ragnarok is very, very comfortable on. It is their best performing map like we saw. But yeah, I'm curious if Arctic is going to make an appearance here because Acer EU, I mean, 40 rounds played and they've won 70% of those. That's a pretty substantial number.
Yeah, it really is. And it's what you get when you're undefeated and you're at the top. You know, you get those substantial numbers. You get a 70% on Arctic. You know, it's how you end up being such a dominant threat in your region. And Acer are doing it in both EU and NA, which I think is even more impressive to speak of. You know, something we haven't we do talk a lot about, I suppose, because their names come up so much. But yeah, the organization of Acer is certainly one that performs well. And now we do have a bit of a tech pause on this side here for Acer as they are trying to get their 5th back into lobby successfully. Hopefully a quick restart is all they'll need. And then we can be getting into this first map, which we still don't have decided yet. to Bob's point. And big shout out to everyone tuning in, hanging out, and enjoying the action here today. We do appreciate everyone that has stopped by, hung out for the pre-show, and is now patiently waiting for us to dive into our first series here, Acer and Ragnarok. I mean, I feel like we're destined for a couple of 3-map series this afternoon, Bob. With the matchups we have today, Acer EU, Ragnarok, and then IVI and Immortality, I think EU is going to have a long day of back and forth. And again, it's just going to be the start. I think it's going to be a fantastic start because it'll get us warmed up for the semifinals for NA, and then obviously tomorrow, where the weekend continues on, and we have the EU Grand Finals, where that prize pool and who wins it gets determined. I cannot wait for that, and I do imagine that that's on the minds of a lot of these squads right now, but especially on the minds of Ragnarok, because they've been fighting so hard for this moment to go up against Acer again. 14-10 was the last time they went up against each other. That's a close series, and so in my mind, I really do think that Acer are going to be tested, maybe the most they've been tested all season in this semifinals match. I suppose outside of the grand finals match, IVI or Immortality against Acer is also going to be a stellar series. I mean, you're looking at ranks 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the EU top 4 here this afternoon, all battling it out, and teams that have been battling it out consistently over the course of the season. So they're going to bring that experience in. They're going to bring that history, that knowledge of past performances, the map, the recordings, the VODs, everything is going to come together so that they can pull out a W here, and they're going to try to pull out a W on the start of our series here for map number 1 on Factory. And Bob, I don't know, curious on your thoughts on Factory. It's a good, clean opener for these two teams because both squads obviously bringing in a lot of experience with them, with their roster. And when you talk about this map in particular, it's a map that's been around for a very long time for these players. They're very familiar with this map. It's not very often you see something new come out on Factory.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to the execution and the strategies and the gunplay used here on Factory. Because again, to Nightfire's point, you don't often see too many new strategies here because it's been out, the longest. It was in the alpha. It's been here, the entirety of Breachers. So I'm seeing an interesting start here from Ragnarok, who is starting offense. Acer EU on defense. TJ Clark and Casey stacking on the window outside of lobby. Mark droning into lobby. Ooh. This is interesting. It's a middle floor site combination, and we're seeing what looks like it's going to be a site B push from Ragnarok. And I'm already starting off a little worried because this is a notoriously difficult push to properly execute and pull off for the offense. Casey looking for some opening shots as we do see 2.5 minutes left on the clock. Ragnarok on the move. TJ Clark foaming that site B wall. And the round is now underway as Blame Blame fam makes their way into printers. Gooblin tossing an incendiary over into Killbox. Mr. Tabs finding Mark. Mr. Tabs dropping a second. Can they find a third? Gooblin finds one on TJ Clark, and it's now just down to a 2 versus 5. With Casey and Blame Blame fam bringing it back with explosive pace, but it's now just down to Blame Blame fam. Mr. Tabs finds that kill. It's a 1-0 game. Good opening for Acer EU.
Very strong 3 alive, carrying through the Taurus. A clean defensive hold. And to your point, an interesting approach coming in there from Ragnarok. Not one we typically see on the pistol set, but also I feel like I don't really often see the middle floor as the opener. It's almost always top or bottom floor. That's a weird metric, I guess. What are the stats on how many times middle floor is the pistol opener? Because I really don't think I've seen that very often. And so it's kind of interesting to see the play there around that objective, and especially around that B side. Because again, if anything, I think when I do see the pistol round, it is around A. They do go around the stairs. The stairs seem to be the kind of dominant element there. You clear out third floor. You do your normal sort of business there. Maybe you have a nade that you bought in round 1 and you're throwing that down the hatch to try and clear server room. There's a few little ways that you can kind of get yourself in onto A, but B is a little bit of a tougher nut to crack. You really need some foam. You really need utility to kind of get your way in, flash out the back line, and we didn't quite see enough of that come in from Ragnarok to disrupt Acer EU. And again, a very clean 3-0 from them that puts them into a position where they can now buy a Vezin, and only one Vezin, interestingly enough, Bob. They're not overcommitting here. Maybe they couldn't, but they're at least staying pretty conservative here with only one rifle off of their round one.
Yeah, they're choosing to play it safe with that rifle, which is certainly not a bad decision at all. Frag going out, and that catches Scottish Ripper S-tier frag from Hickman as Mr. Tabs making use of that round 2 Vezin, and we're already down to a 5 versus 3. Mark and Blame fam making their way through blue vendings. Gooblin looking for a potential pick onto Mark. A lot of damage picked up by the Ragnarok players here as they do foam that Site A wall, and there's not a scratch on Acer EU right now as Gooblin does find a kill. Mr. Tabs looking for one, and Gooblin dropping a triple kill, taking out TJ Clark with fire. Wow, I mean, that went even better for Acer EU than round 1.
I think after last weekend, I had like 80 clips that I had to upload to Chumbait for editing, and we're already off with 2 rounds, and I got 3 clips. So if we're gonna do this, you know, it's gonna be a lot. But a heck of an opener there, and the Immolation nade in particular coming in huge. You know, catching that second to last kill, and then the final pickup there. And to your point, not a scratch on Acer on defense there. This EU squad is delivering to the Acer name very much so far. But it's the first 2 rounds, and oftentimes we see in these early 2 rounds, teams dominate one way or the other, and then when we get to the full buy, the big clash. So for Ragnarok here, an important round, but has their economy management been effective enough to get them into a position where they can fully clash against Acer? That's the question. Right now we're seeing a minimal buy. 3 Vezins, a Viper, and a Omen. It's enough, I think, at the end of the day, but if they lose those rifles, then they are obviously going to be in a tough shape, and Vino here is going to be one of the first sort of defensive elements that's going to try and disrupt Ragnarok and get rid of those rifles.
I think what worries me here is there's a distinct lack of a lot of utility on Ragnarok. No healing syringes at all, so there's no kind of support item to keep the health back up unless they harvest one off of Acer EU. Frag tossed in. Oh my goodness, it's here from Scottish Ripper, who finds both Hickman and Mr. Tabs, as we now have a 5 versus 3, and this could be the point where Ragnarok turns it around. As Nightfire pointed out, you know, this is their opportunity to full buy now. They're going to get a lot of resources off of those 2 Acer EU players they killed with the frag. They've now got 4 Vezins to work with. Gooblin over in connector. Acer EU has a lot of work to do to catch up.
Ooh, Vino gets rid of the flank, the pinch. Casey going down. Kind of a nice disruption to Ragnarok getting full control. It's actually really important because now it is just Ragnarok trying to push in through this B site. But I say just, and they've got the EMP down and fully planted. No, not yet. Vino being a disruptive force to Blam comfortably getting this plant. Scottish goes down. A good swing coming in from Mark. Cleans things up, but Rise alone in a 1v1 now has an opportunity to disrupt the heals coming in. There you're seeing the not lack of utility coming through to boost Rise back up to full HP. Swing out on TJ Clark, tucked into the corner, and find the headshot in Acer. Coming out 3-0 off of a big play from Rise and the team holding down the 3v5.
Oh my goodness, that's gotta hurt for Ragnarok. They started off with a fantastic opening, a double kill frag from Scottish Ripper, and they actually got into the site with a very good push, and they found the picks that they needed. They got the EMP planted as well, but they just lost those players at the end there. And TJ Clark sitting in a pretty popular spot for a post-plant situation in orange storage. And we just saw the anticipation from Acer EU. They managed to find the pick, and they got themselves a hat-trick win. And this is going to hurt the Ragnarok economy. They're able to field 2 Vezins, but everybody else is hurting for cash right now. Not able to. Okay, they did get a third one. But yeah, I mean, Viper. Still, their players are, they don't have a whole lot of utility here. Not too many Vezins. So I think we may see this really carry through, throughout the rest of the first half with this.
And you really do have a big wall to climb here on Ragnarok's side. Acer with momentum under their feet, no less, are in a dangerous place right now. looking to go 4-0, and if they 6-0 this half, I mean, if you 7-0, if you don't find any rounds even, and you go 7-0 on map 1, you know that's there's not a lot of hope for the rest of the series in this best of 3.
Yeah, they would need to essentially shut out Acer EU on a map as well, which is quite difficult to do. Mr. Tabs finding Mark, looking for another one through the blue vending wall, but it doesn't quite happen. KC foaming, getting ready to push Ragnarok into Site A. Gooblin and Mr. Tabs falling back as Blam Fam tucked in the corner might swing out and grab a pick here. Gooblin playing pretty aggressive as a frag is tossed up. Mr. Tabs finds TJ Clark, and Blam Fam with a Taurus kill looks to push into the site, but Rise shuts that down, and it's now just down to Casey in a 1 versus 4. And Mr. Tabs swinging out. It's a 4-0 game. It's a brutal opening so far for Ragnarok.
Yeah, this is where things get a little bit dicey. Like I said, Acer is starting to get very confident. You can see in their interview they were pretty loose, pretty relaxed. You know, you got Makamo joking around, the sub obviously, but I think probably an important element to have at the end of the day. You know, you need that. You want to have that little lightheartedness in the team sometimes to sort of help keep you sometimes not over focused. You know, Ragnarok could be coming in here maybe too much pressure on their shoulders, whereas Acer coming in with a bit of a different sort of obviously very focused approach, but you're seeing confidence here right now in a semifinals stage, which is impressive in my mind. It's not something that you see often where teams or players are confident enough in their skills to be able to push and do things where you would really only expect them to do in like week 3 of the season. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. They're running away with things. They're just going to try and stomp this series. But right now it's 4-0 and another big round for Ragnarok at the end of the day. Another partial buy for Ragnarok at the end of the day. Because they're going so hard into each of these rounds and really not finding a lot, it means that they're not able to snowball. And so they do just kind of keep struggling to get things together. And I feel like this was what we saw from them in their last series too, was a bit of an interesting eco management that was a little bit different than what you would typically see at a meta level, but it obviously has worked for them to get them to this point in the semifinals. So, you know, who's to say that it's not going to work out here, as they are very patiently getting started here in round 5.
Yeah, teams, you know, it depends on the team. They do eco a little differently, you know, depending on who you ask. And Ragnarok, it looks like they do favor those half buys a little bit. Casey picking up a Canut, and I've seen Casey, you know, really make the Canut work. So we'll see if they can make it work here, but Vino might be ready to catch an immediate pick as they do find Casey. Not good as Blam Fam goes down 2. Beautiful double kill from Vino. Mr. Tabs finding a kill of their own, and it's now down to a 2 versus 4 as Rise does go down to Scottish Ripper, who gets refragged by Mr. Tabs. It's now just down to TJ Clark. These rounds are going by so fast. Mr. Tabs managing to recover, I don't know, maybe it's a heal off of their, it's a smoke. And we're just in another 1 versus 3. And things are looking so tough here for TJ Clark.
They're going crazy. I mean, Acer double peek in the hatch. You know, like you don't like that's, you don't need to do that. You know, they're looking for that kill. They smoked the body so they could pick up the nade, so they could try and throw it up the hatch. You know, like they're going for big plays here in the postseason. And so far, as Gooblin cleans things up, they are performing quite strong. 5-0 on Factory here for Acer EU. A performance that is to be expected at this point. You know, again, a team that's undefeated, you know, is going to try and remain undefeated throughout this postseason. I don't anticipate that really to change until even potentially the finals, as I think Ragnarok are having a bit of a pep talk here.
Yeah, we need to see Ragnarok start to get some rounds here, and I like to see that the mental is still there. You know, they do still look to be confident in their abilities, but I mean, they've got to get around here. They don't want to get locked out first half. That would completely shut out any chance they have to win map 1 right now. I mean, they are in a very tough spot. Acer EU is just you know, drowning in cash. They've got plenty of money. They've got the util, the Vezens, and Ragnarok. They do have some utility, but again, there's not a whole lot on their team. Just, you know, a breaching foam, a drone, an incendiary, and a cloaking device. So We'll see if they can manage to make this work, but they are going to be in, I guess, a little bit more favorable position going, 5-4 into the round, but Hickman finds 2.
Hickman, Tabs!
Hickman. And Mr. Tabs dropping a frag onto Mark, and it's now just a 2 versus 3. And oh my goodness, this is just not good for Ragnarok at all.
A crazy opener there. Hickman absolutely going off in the bottom floor with a double kill. The nade also gets thrown out there, but then Tabs getting their nade out as well. A tough round for Ragnarok there, just because Acer is playing overly aggressive now. And that's something that Ragnarok has to be adjusting to at this point. And trying to counter, and that's so hard to counter without utility. Utility is the key in slowing teams down, and we're not seeing, like you said, a lot of it coming out here. Instead, the gunfights are what we're seeing, and Mr. Tabs is winning those. The Scottish Ripper goes down at the window, and now Casey into a 1v3.
When you're going against an aggressive team like Acer EU, you've got to be careful because they're at the top of their game on gun skill.
Yeah.
And this is why utility is so important. Syringes allow you to recover some health, and Rise shutting down Casey. They pre-fired that storage room after hearing the audio drop, and that's a first half lockout for Acer EU. And I mean, they're just running away with this first map here. You really got to think, I was expecting to see Ragnarok, get this a little bit closer here, but so far, Acer EU has just completely shut them out of this game, and they are one round away from taking map 1 entirely.
Yeah, and look at the KDs, Bob. I think that tells the story of this series so far. The highest on Ragnarok is 3. The lowest on Acer is 3. And so their kills are not coming in on Ragnarok's side here this afternoon, and that's a telltale sign that the series is really going Acer's way. The 6-0 scoreline is very much accurate in terms of how they're performing right now, and as they go on to the attack, I anticipate them to keep this level of pace going. I anticipate Mr. Tabs to put on a couple more kills. Right now, 11-1 on the series in semifinals. Can't get in more peak form than that.
There are some teams definitely that play better on offense or play better on defense, but Acer EU, they're at the top of their game. They're just good on both sides. Tossing a frag down into, I believe this is the server hatch. They didn't find a pick there. Mark tossing a frag onto orange stairs, but Vino and Mr. Tabs looking to get aggressive here. Hickman finding Blame Fam with an S-tier frag as Mark gets double swung. And does find a bit of damage onto Mr. Tabs, but we're in a 5 versus 3. Once
that's a big nade!
It over to Ragnarok already. We do see the recovery as Hickman does get taken out by Scottish Ripper, but it's a 4 versus 3, and Ragnarok are still on the ropes here.
I think that nade would have cleared a team in most cases, but Acer very quick to react to that and tuck back in. They do take tons of damage, and a big headshot from Scottish Ripper, ripping the head off of Gooblin. A 3-3 opening sequence here for Ragnarok. Could be the start of something, Bob. Heck, maybe we're headed for 3 maps. If Ragnarok can step up on their defensive half here, the side swap could mean everything for this team as Casey puts things to a 3-2. Scottish Ripper putting things to a 3-1, and now Rise alone in a 1v3 to clutch up this series and this map opener, for the team.
Rise, the clutch master, is still alive. They find Scottish Ripper, and that's not good. Their big offensive power is out on Ragnarok, and Rise, I gotta say, Rise has clutched up worse. In the past, they have 1:20 to work with here, and they are currently rotating. Oh my goodness, they're gonna try to open the hatch in a server. Okay, that might be to distract Casey, but there's only a minute left on the clock here, and time is running out for Acer EU. Casey rotates over into upper orange. Rise on the way. They swing up and find the kill onto Rise. Casey keeping Ragnarok in this game. It's a 1-6. And that got, even there on the pistol round, it got very, very close.
Yeah, and see a lot of people in chat Meeman, close game, close game. Well, hey, the side swap in this game means a lot. And I think we're at least... There's a good chance we're headed to 6-2 at this pace, with Ragnarok with a rifle in their hand and advantage in their pocket. And it's going to be up to Acer and how they manage things. I think one thing to note here, Bob, is that despite Acer being 1 point away from taking this first map, they're not going in and over-investing into this round. They're not buying all the way. They're not picking up Vipers or extra frags or anything like that. They're going with their standard round 2 eco, where they're getting breaching foam, 2 nades, and a drone. That's the extent of their purchases. A Spectral coming in from Rise, but everyone else running default pistols. And so it's, again, worth noting and understanding how these economies are managed, because at the end of the day, what this is going to do for Acer is if they lose, they'll have enough for a full buy next round. Or at the very least, a 4 rifle, 1 pistol buy, which is what you need in round 3 to contest against a squad that does have their full eco and everything they need off of a 2-0 victory. So an interesting little note there, and we'll see if it means much for Acer at the end of the day as Mark tosses the nade and picks up a double, and Acer are down 2 again. A beautiful opener.
S-tier frag from Mark there. They're looking to keep themselves in this game. Acer EU definitely on a super eco with 4 of their players running those Jespers. Rise sticking with the Spectral, so they may be able to find a pick here. They're leaning over in storage, looking for a potential pick onto Casey, and this is for Ragnarok. This is all about not losing anybody in this round. They need to make sure that everybody's got good economy moving into the next round. If anybody dies, it could really hurt them. Casey looking to move up with that gun. They find the pick on Hickman, looking for a double on a Rise, and they almost get Rise, but they almost go down as well. Rise over in storage as Gooblin. I'm not sure where Gooblin is. Gooblin dropping an S-tier frag and finds both Mark and TJ Clark. And now things are a little bit scary because one of the Vesnas was dropped. They did manage to recover that. Scottish Ripper has that right now, but they've done a lot of damage here to Ragnarok on a super eco round.
Foam was tossed to Rise, so Rise likely to foam up, I think, A, because they're going to have, Gooblin through the hatch. And so the play is going to be to try and push. Oh, no, Gooblin's going to drop down. Interesting. I figured he would stay at the hatch, overwatch through, try and pick up anyone that would peek out like Casey. But they're both down here, and Rise with a slice of health and Gooblin at full are trying to go up against the Knut and 2 Vesnas. This is not an easy task, and I don't think that Acer are going to be able to come out on top here. With a minute left, Casey will shut down the first. Gooblin will go down to Casey again, and a double kill with the Knut in hand puts Ragnarok up to 2. Now, the full buy round, Bob, but hey, they're in this thing and they're fighting from Ragnarok, and that's what they need, because a 7-0 again in a best of 3 is actually much worse than in a 7-2 right now, because again, if things were to tie all the way into that third map, the way that the entire thing would be decided is off of rounds 1. And so you need every round at the end of the day. Every round matters. And so Ragnarok, even to take 2 here, is important. If they lose the rest of this map, it's valuable that they've at least denied the shutout if they're going to have a chance at taking this series. So big 2 rounds for them at the end of the day. We'll see how it impacts everything. Ultimately, Acer EU could come out with 2 wins and be done with this thing, but that's yet to be, that has not happened yet. And the full buy round is going to be telling for this Acer squad.
Yeah, I mean, this is what they prepared for. They super ecoed last round. Rise being the team player here and purchasing attachments, utility for everybody. And this is, I think, what we were missing from that Ragnarok offense is they didn't have somebody to play support here. I know one of our casters, Rip the Cord, really popularized this. I think, it kind of invented playing support for the team and buying that utility and attachments. And, I mean, you see it really makes such a difference. But Mr. Tats gets picked immediately by Mark, a frag tossed out. And already Acer EU pretty hurt here on the offense. Mark tossing another frag out. That catches a lot of damage onto Gooblin. But Mark finally goes down to Hickman. And maybe got a little bit too aggressive there. But, I mean, hey, they found 2 picks on Acer EU. That is a very, very strong opening for Ragnarok once again.
Huge. And they're in this one. The full buy round in their favor 4-3. And, I'm not sure what Acer's plan is in mind. You know, one thing I did kind of, I can't remember who said it. I think it was maybe Formula 3 in the interviews, was they said, you know, we're going to practice 3 players, or 2 players down. We're going to practice 2 players in 2v2s and 3v5s. And I think that's a real interesting note. I got to wonder if these squads do specifically focus on moments like this, where you're down 3v4 and you have limited utility or limited options. You know, what is that play? I got to wonder if they have that play, and it seems that the play is to clear out all the utility around B and set up for the entry.
I think a lot of teams would be pretty discouraged. Casey does find a pick, but Hickman and Rise find the 2 picks of their own, and it's now a 2 versus 2. And I was going to say, we've seen Acer EU not get discouraged by losing players very early, and instead they're switching up the push entirely over to Hickman, watching the breach, and TJ Clark's are going to have to correct here, but Hickman is waiting and watching, looking for TJ Clark. You find one! TJ Clark dropping the double kill, and again another very, very close round, but Ragnarok staying in this game. They're now just 3 rounds off of tying up map 1 here, and this is going to hurt Acer EU's economy.
Last time they fought against each other was 14-10 on the scoreline. Acer won. To get to 14-10, Bob, you got to have a good back and forth. You typically win a map or 2, or at the very least tie a map. And so Ragnarok are no strangers to contesting this Acer EU squad, and I think it's even more admirable to the fact that you consider they were down 6-0, Bob, getting absolutely stormed through by Acer on the defensive half here, and now doing a great job of fending off Acer. A big clutch there from TJ at the end of the day to pick up that double kill. They find the shots through the wall onto Gublin as Gublin's trying to retreat. And I gotta wonder if the pressure is factoring into some degree here. I think in some cases you normally see Acer challenging those plays versus trying to get the plant and run away for the defense, you know? And maybe the fact that they're trying to get that last round, they just need one more, all of that's on their mind right now, it can play in to how your team performs, and we'll see if it keeps playing in to how this Acer squad performs, as they are going into another eco round against a full bot Ragnarok squad. And we've seen eco rounds go good in the postseason, sure, but Ragnarok's is playing solid here on defense.
Yeah, now, I mean, again, they did go 6-0 into the second half, so even just one mistake is going to completely shut Ragnarok out of this map, but they've certainly done a good job of bringing back the rounds here. Again, just 3 off of tying this up. So they still have a lot of work to do, but in terms of economy, they're definitely in the favored position here. Now, what they need to do is not give up any early Vezins. Blam Blam fam looking to play close to lockers over here with the Taurus. I'm not sure if that's going to work well. Hickman does go to Blam Blam, though. It's a frag. It's a frag. Blam Blam fam fighting a double kill with the Taurus, and they're still playing at really aggressive angles. And we got 2 minutes on the clock. Gublin goes down to Scottish Ripper. Vino looking to toss a frag into the back of site B. Finds a bit of damage onto Mark, but they're still in a pretty tough spot here on Acer EU.
Yeah, beautiful opener here for Ragnarok. 6-4 at eco round, and there's a nice nade, a beautiful nade that goes to the back, but not quite far enough. Blam Blam trades in a 1-for-1 as Vino finally gets rid of Blam Blam and their and their Taurus in the front line. And now I wonder if we're going to see Mark swinging out here to challenge Vino, or if Ragnarok's just going to play tucked in, patient, and wait for Vino to try and make their move in with just a now Omen in their hand.
And, I mean, why do we even have Vezins if Blame Flame's going to be a gunslinger with the Taurus there, as Mark still sitting in the corner. I mean, they're so close to hitting each other. Vino does manage to pick one, but Mark securing the refrag. It's now a 4-6 game.
Crazy.
They are going to be able to carry 4 Vezins into the next round, but, I mean, we are seeing defense here be the side. Yeah, they bring in 3 instead of the 4 that they originally purchased, but I mean, we are seeing defense being the side to play here for both of these teams. Ragnarok are so close to tying this up. And, you know, when we first spoke about, you know, the rounds coming into play later, they're doing a good job of giving themselves opportunities later on in the game. I think a lot of people wrote off Ragnarok, you know, when they went 6-0 into the second half, but they can certainly bring this back.
I think I did mentally, really. I thought we were headed for a fast map 1 on the opener here. But again, at this pace, we could be barreling to 3 maps if Acer have anything to say about it. Of course, worth remembering that, again, it all is based off of rounds 1. So if you win 7-0 in map 2, then map 3, your opponent has to win 7-0 to keep things even. And even then, actually the best you could do is tie if you lose 7-0 in map 2. And so, you know, the rounds will all be factored in, and at the end of the day, we won't even play a full third map if we don't have to. If we determine a victor off of rounds within the first few rounds, then that'll determine our victor. So, you know, the best of 3 is definitely something that is coming up, but you know, I don't know. We'll have to see. Are we going to get a winner here, Bob, or is this thing headed to a tie as we get into round 11? A 6-0 opener taking us to round 11 now.
Well, one thing's for sure, Acer EU, they're back on a full buy round. Now, they only have a couple pieces of utility, but Scottish Ripper, oh my goodness, what a pick on Mr. Tabs, shutting them out before they can even get in the site, and it's already a 4 versus 5, and Ragnarok have really brought it back here. Scottish Ripper finds a second pick, this time on a Vino. Frags toss from both sides, neither one finding any damage. 2 minutes on the clock. Mark tossing a frag out into upper orange. That catches a lot of damage on the Goblin. They do manage to get that heal off, but finally, Scottish Ripper's finally going down to rise, and we're in a 3 versus 4.
A devastating threat there, picking up 2. You can see on the bottom floor, while this is all happening, Blam Blam is rotating. Hickman and Gooblin challenging Rise, watching the top floor. Who's watching bottom floor stairs? Is it going to be Gooblin? Is their timing going to be right? Blam Blam should push now while those shots are going off, but will they is the question. Will they instead push once everything cools down? Gooblin has a chance to check stairs. Here they go. Here comes the push on the back end. Down goes one. Hickman does pick up a huge kill, and Gooblin not going to be ready for this stair push, or are they? They check right as Blam Blam pushes up, and it keeps things relatively close into a 3v2 favoring Ragnarok.
They do still have some Vezins up. They've got a heal as well, so don't count Acer EU out of this yet, but they do have just a minute left on the clock before this round is over. The EMP has not been planted, so they're gonna have to start thinking about that, but there's an incendiary. So what you see is Ragnarok are trying to stall for as much time as they possibly can. Gooblin can't get in the site and plant that EMP without putting themselves in a very compromising position. Rise on the flank. They do find a pick onto TJ Clark. Gooblin looking to bait out that EMP. Casey looking to make a move, and they flick onto Gooblin, and it's a 5-6 game. They are now just 1 round off of tying it up here on map 1.
I can't believe we are headed to oh, I see my mic peeking there. Headed to what could be a a crazy 6-6 map 1 opener here. This is beyond what I was anticipating from Ragnarok's defensive half, to say the least. So impressive for them to be able to fight back against what was a great amount of pressure from Acer EU, but they have stepped up to the task. They have put on an amazing couple of rounds here, and now Acer, they put everything into that last round, into round 11. Their economy is in shambles here. They have a partial buy coming in with SMGs and a Cadillo, and I gotta wonder if Ragnarok are aware of the advantage they have on utility right now, but whether they are or aren't, they have a substantial advantage going into the final round. I think there's a real shot they tie this, and a real shot that we're going to play out a third map to figure out who is going to win in this best of 3.
And Acer EU pretty hurt on the economy here. They only are able to half buy and purchase a couple of Cadillas, some RCPs, and a Viper. They do have a bit more utility, but I mean, this is going to be a big moment for Ragnarok. They've got everything that they need to win this round. They just need to bring it home. Mark tossing a frag out. Mr. Tabs, I thought, might go in and try and find a pick onto Mark, but they didn't quite make that work yet. Mark finding Mr. Tabs as Blade fan picks up Hickman. We're already down to a 3 versus 5. Gooblin dropping from the storage hatch, and only 2 minutes, 20 seconds on the clock. Smoke tossed out into blue hallway. That's going to cut Vino off a little bit and force the push to slow down here, but already Acer EU are struggling to get their foot in the door. I mean, in the sight, I guess I should say. Casey,
Wow.
oh my goodness, finds Rise through the wall into storage. Now just 2 minutes on the clock, and it's down to Gooblin and Vino versus all 5 Ragnarok members. And you know, what we saw at the start of this is, you know, Ragnarok could barely find any damage on Acer EU. We're seeing the exact opposite, where Acer EU can find barely any damage onto Ragnarok. Vino out in blue vendings at the moment, 1:40 on the clock. And Gooblin and Vino are stuck here. I mean, what do they even do?
Yeah, it is a tough spot to be in. You can see the KDs have equalized off of, again, a very tough start, and Acer here having an equally hard offensive half themselves, as Ragnarok, the ranked 4 up against ranked 1, are stepping up to the challenge. A massive clutch is needed from this Acer team, one that they have yet to pull off, quite frankly. And as they're going to crack open A, the headshots are going to need to flow like a river downhill as Acer push in, and so far they're not flowing. Vino getting big damage dealt. They don't have a health syringe on hand. Gooblin does, so they may have to rotate the Gooblin to get that HP, and they got a minute left to work with.
There's just so little time left here. Gooblin does have that EMP and Casey over in connector. They just can't get a foot in the sight. Gooblin looking to potentially get that EMP played, but it's now or never. They're looking for Blam Blam Fam and do find a bit of damage there. But once, I mean, they have to get this EMP down and potentially play the hatch here. There's only half a minute left on the clock. Blam Blam Fam does manage to rotate in a safer position on site A. Gooblin looking to get that EMP planted. I imagine we're going to see a flag here.
What?
Oh my goodness, Gooblin finds one, Vino finds one, and there is a draw. It's a 2 versus none as Ragnarok do manage to tie up map 1. We are going to a map 3 in just the first matchup we're seeing here of the EU.
Yeah, a heck of an opener here for today, and a pretty, I mean, we went through 12 rounds in 35 minutes, Bob, you know?
Yeah.
That's pretty fast, 12 rounds, which I can appreciate from the squads. Shouts out to them. And, yeah, hopefully we can keep this pace because, again, we got a lot to go through today. We've got another best of 3 after this between IVI and Immortality, and I think that one, in my mind, was the one that was going to go 3 maps, not this one. You know, I didn't think this one was going to go 3 maps, Bob. I didn't think we were headed to a third between Acer and Ragnarok, but here we are, guaranteed to at least play some of a third map. All of how much we play out is determined by how well these teams perform in map 2, and then we know what is needed for map 3 for what's the winning condition, so to speak, for map 3. And so this next map is maybe even bigger to snowball than that first map was, because if you can do it here, it's going to mean that you've almost, if you 7-0, for example, that means that your opponent has to 7-0, and then you're tied on rounds, which means we play a 4th map. If we're tied on map wins in rounds, then a 4th map is played. And so there's one scenario. Let's also consider something else. If you win map 1 7-1, then your opponent can beat you and win the series if they win 7-0, because they will have more rounds at the end of this series overall. And so there's little conditions like this that will factor in terms of how many rounds are needed by what team, and we'll know that off of after round 2. So very curious to see what we get from these squads. If we do get a sub, a timeout, Acer do have that deep roster. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they bring someone else in, Bob, for this second map. But, you know, maybe not the opening that Acer was looking for per se.
No, I think they probably wanted to come in a lot stronger than that, and it looked like they had it. I mean, I think, you know, you and I already signed off on that match at the second half. The Chad signed off on it. They were going close game, really close match, and Ragnarok just completely brought it back there out of nowhere. I mean, you know, they transformed into a completely different team in that second half. Just giving the teams the go-ahead to start when ready.
Oh, they didn't need it.
Looks like we are going to get things going already into map number 2, which is going to be hideouts.
Yeah, and Hideout, I think, going to be a very interesting map, Bob, for this Acer squad, they're going to have to be ready for their opponent. And I mean, what do the stats say about these teams?
Yeah, this is definitely a Ragnarok favored map. They've played, I can't remember off the top of my head how many rounds they've played here exactly, but they've won quite a few times here on Hideout. And I'd like to say every time I've seen them play here, they have won Hideout, but I could be wrong on that. Yeah, look at that. 91 rounds played. They've won 63% of those rounds. So this is a very strong performing map for them. It's also good for Acer EU, but not quite as good as, you know, they usually perform. But we'll see. I mean, they could find an early foothold here against Ragnarok, but you know, if defense was the stronger side on Hideout, we could potentially see it be the stronger side here. Excuse me, if it was the stronger side on Factory, we could potentially see it be the stronger side on Hideout.
I gotta wonder what. I mean, there's a lot that Acer has to deal with right now. They had an absolute beautiful opener. 6-0, strong, fast, clean. 1 round away from taking map 1 and being really strong into round 2. But they lost 6 rounds in a row, and now they're going into a second map that doesn't favor them and are at risk of things going really wrong for this #1 squad right now. For maybe the first time all season, because again, they are undefeated throughout the regular season and all the way up until this postseason moment. I would love to see Ragnarok being the team to do this and challenge this Acer EU squad, and only in the postseason do you see this, Bob, because, wow, what a great performance so far as Acer do barrel in a nice opener for Hickman, starting things off good, but there's Scottish Ripper with the Taurus connecting with another headshot.
Absolute powerhouse. That Taurus from Scottish Ripper as they find a second pick. TJ Clark looking for one, but Hickman does secure that kill. They do still have that Taurus player up, and Blade Fam finds another pick. Acer EU getting ripped apart here in Garage, and it's now a 3 versus 2. EMP down on the floor. They've just been devastated by these Tauruses very, very early into the round, looking to get that breaching foam on the kitchen wall. And here's Casey on the flank, as they usually are, may find a pick here onto Hickman if they're not being careful. Hickman looking to make a move potentially into kitchen. Mr. Tabs over at Madrid. Here's Casey on the flank. They find the pick onto Hickman, and it's now just down to Mr. Tabs. There's only a minute on the clock, and Scottish Ripper putting that Taurus to work. Finds the kill onto Mr. Tabs. An absolute gunslinger with that Taurus.
Wow. Ragnarok are up 1-0 right now in map 2 of a tied 6-6 opener. And wouldn't it be quite the reversal if we saw Ragnarok now go 6-0 on defense on this map? Well, I'd be surprised to say the least, as, again, just everything has been leading us to Acer being the squad that's going to be challenging whoever in the grand finals for both regions, quite frankly. And this would be an interesting shakeup. If we saw Acer EU lose here, it would have me wondering what's possible with NA. You know, I mean, Bob, we were talking about it's Acer in my mind at least is so strong of a team that it's hard to imagine that they don't go to the finals. You know, and so right now Ragnarok is making that imaginary idea more of a reality, quite frankly, in my mind. And I really am seeing maybe a path where Acer EU isn't in the finals.
Yeah, things are certainly playing out for Ragnarok right now. And again, we will see, you know, when we get to that second half or when we get to the rifle round here, things could potentially change up. But yeah, it's definitely putting that idea into the back of everybody's minds right now. Could Acer EU lose this? Could they be out of the, you know, the EU playoffs before they really make it to the end here after such a strong season? It would be devastating for them to lose now, but Hickman picking up a bit of damage from that frag grenade drone moving into site A, and it looks like it is going to be that bathroom push from Acer EU. But they're certainly setting up for one. Gooblin looking to get the breaching foam on the wall, and Ragnarok looking to shut them out and hold them off for as long as possible. Mr. Tabs, I wonder if they're going to get some damage from that trip mine potentially. They take out the static field emitter, and they do have the wall foam. They bait out the trip mine. Mark, sitting in the back, finds the kill onto Mr. Tabs and escapes the frag grenade. There's 2 minutes on the clock.
Acer down 1 early again. again. Another nade coming in as Vino barrels into A side. Another nade coming in from Vino. That gets tossed into the back and doesn't catch out a kill. And somehow Ragnarok haven't been touched by any of the utility. As the EMP goes down on the back, they have 3 invested here. One goes through the wall. Casey finds another mark, picks up another, and oh boy, Rise is alone in what is round 2 of this series and what could be a 2-0 lead here for Ragnarok.
You think about it, though, this is actually a pretty good amount of damage that Acer EU has done to Ragnarok. They found 2 of their players. Mark could go down as well. And they invested into some Vezins and, other utility here for Ragnarok. So their economies might be a little bit damaged, going into the next round. Now, Rise still has their work cut out for them. The EMP's down on the sofa chair. And Rise is going to look for some picks here. We'll see if Mark decides to swing out or not. They've switched their Vezin for a Cyclone, but oh my goodness, they absolutely tore through that Acer EU offense while they tried to plant the EMP. Rise swings into Family Room Balcony. They've definitely heard that on Ragnarok, but will Rise find a potential third pick here? They're looking to flank around through bedroom, maybe site B. I'm wondering if they may catch somebody off guard.
Yeah, I think we've seen something like this before, but it's hard when you have 3 alive for Ragnarok because there's only 2 entry points, 3 with the wall open that you need to cover, and they have 3 alive. So all they have to do is cover their entry points, and they'll be able to defend this objective cleanly, and I think that's what the Ragnarok squad is doing right now. As you see the peek out from Rise getting denied entirely by Casey, and Ragnarok pushing up 2-0 on their defensive half here on their map, arguably, on Hideout. Again, what is now 8 unanswered points against Acer EU, the #1 EU squad that's been undefeated. Ragnarok has 8 unanswered points. Something's awry here with this Acer team.
Okay, we can't get too ahead of ourselves, though, right? Because this is the rifle round.
Yeah.
So Acer EU, they super ecoed. They were waiting for this round. They're going to spend their money, buy those Vezins. They're going to have somebody playing support so they can get that extra utility. So this is the big test for Ragnarok if they can keep this pace up, because Acer EU are going to come into this round strong. They're going to come in well equipped. And this is their big chance to start turning this around and giving them some offensive points. If they can't get a win here, they're going to be forced to eco again. And then we're going to look at a pretty scary first half. And 10 unanswered points from Ragnarok. So it's a big round for Acer EU. We'll see if they can start finding some success against Ragnarok, or if they're going to continue to go and lose against Ragnarok.
But we got through 12 rounds at the last map in 35 minutes. We're now 15 minutes into this, and we're only in through 2. The pacing definitely a little different here in map 2, as Acer are really having a hard time getting an opening pick. We continue to see Ragnarok finding the early kills with nades, utility, or something that denies them. A Scottish Ripper Taurus headshot. They just are having a tough time breaking that initial shell and getting the early kill advantage. But finally they have it, and it just keeps getting picked back and forth away from them. We go into a 3-3 as Garage goes into control for Acer.
The Ace are pretty hurt here. Goblin and Tabs both picked up some damage. Vino also very low. They do have some heals, so I imagine we're probably going to wait for them. We're probably going to see them wait for their heals to restore, so they're able to get those extra health points before they push in. They've got the time to wait. Scottish Ripper looking for a pick onto Mr. Tabs. And this is going to be big for Acer EU because they've gotten it down to a 3 versus 3. They could potentially find some success against Ragnarok here, but it's all going to come down to how they decide to push. Smoke toss into Laundry. Goblin looking to foam that Laundry wall. Just a minute and a half on the clock. Now Casey rotating back into Pantry. And Vino looking to potentially go for an opening pick here in this push, but time is ticking down for Acer EU. Frag tossed in. Mr. Tab sitting in Garage. And there goes one. I imagine we're going to see the 2-prong here very soon, but Mr. Tabs gets shut out. What is happening? Why isn't the push synced up? Where's the breaching foam? Did they not foam the laundry wall? No, they did, but they didn't open it. I think that's a very big timing issue. Scottish Ripper finds Vino. No way. This is not good for Acer at all. Gooblin making their way into kitchen, but they're going to be in the crosshair of 2 different Ragnarok players. And Blade fam finds Gooblin. That did not work at all. And you know, if Hertage was here, I think he'd say this is timing.
I can't. That's Ragnarok 3-0. Ragnarok 9 rounds in a row against Acer EU. Ragnarok trying to push this thing to a 6-0 half in map 2. And Bob, if they do that, they have a 7-0 opportunity. If they do that, they need 1 single round in all of map 3 to win the series. Because we've tied in map 1, rounds essentially determine our victor at the end of the day. And if we tie in rounds, then we have a 4th map to play out. But because we tied map 1, it is really ultimately down 2 rounds over the course of 2 maps. And so to have a 3-0 is huge. To be able to push this 4-0 and then have that, it's a big opportunity for Ragnarok right now. And we really are looking at a chance for 10 rounds in a row to go into the hands of this Ragnarok squad, which I just didn't think we'd be saying here this afternoon with how Acer EU started, of all things.
Yeah, they're on an eco round now, so.
Oh, no.
They're bidding for cash. They're not able to field a Vezin. They're half buying here. We're on round 4, so they're in pretty bad shape on Acer EU. Ragnarok are going to need to keep this momentum up. And then, you know, I think their best case, you know, to stay ahead of Acer EU, this is Scottish Ripper finding Mr. Tabs, by the way, is to get, you know, this first half lockout here and then go for that pistol round. So they got to be able to not only lock out the first half, they got to be able to find that early momentum on the pistol round. And Mark shutting out Vino. Blade fam looking for a pick onto Hickman, and they're just unable to develop into this building at all. Rise looking to recover. A frag tries to get Mark out of there, but Mark's not moving at all. They find another pick on the Rise. Blade fam does go down to Hickman, who drops his second, and it's now a 3 versus 2. Scottish Ripper looking to make their way in, but Vezins have been recovered. Scottish Ripper goes down. TJ Clark finding Hickman, though, and it's now a 1 versus 2. Casey on the flank, as they usually are. But will Gooblin be able to find a pick here and be able to find some momentum before Casey can arrive? There's just 1:40 on the clock. Gooblin has possession of the EMP, foaming that arcade wall. I'm wondering if they are going to try and go around and push Site B, in which case they'd run right into Casey here with just 1.5 minutes on the clock. Oh my goodness, we might see this here. Will Gooblin be ready for it? Will Casey be ready for it?
You have to.
Oh my goodness! Casey finds it! No way! It's a 4-0 round! They're still in the game! They're just 2 rounds off of locking out Acer EU in the first half. This is crazy.
Yeah, you can see the kiss of celebration between the Ragnarok teammates there as they are beyond themselves, I think, as well, up 4-0. As excited as we are to see this team pressuring Acer EU so much, and what a shock it has to be to this Acer team, because you're coming into the series confident, thinking, well, you know, we're headed to the semis, and then we're actually going to be in the money. You know, like you win this map, you win this series, you're in the money, guaranteed. First and second are getting cash, and you're guaranteed first or second if you win here today, because you're going to go play in the finals. The loser plays for third tomorrow. And so, you know, there's that opportunity on the line, and I got to wonder if Acer just overlooked Ragnarok a little bit here this afternoon, because Ragnarok has, gosh, I just didn't think they had the snowball. I didn't think the snowball could get this big, Bob. I didn't think it could go downhill this fast. And now it's everything for Acer. They need to stop this snowball. They need to stop Ragnarok. They put everything they have into this round, and if they lose here again like they did the last time when they were in this situation, then they're not going to have a full buy into the final round of the half. So this is a big one for Acer. If they win here, quite frankly, they at least get a full buy for that. So there's a chance for a 4-2 still for Acer, and that's what they're really pushing for right now with this next round.
And again, if we do head into that 4-2, I have a feeling that Acer EU could really bring it back on their defensive half, which is why Ragnarok are going to need to keep pouring on the round wins here if they want to have that chance to move on to the finals tomorrow. Blame Fam and Scottish Ripper sitting in the back of Site B. Scottish picking up some damage through the wall. Mr. Tabs goes down. They tried to develop into the site early. Vino might get picked by a frag here. They do just manage to escape. It's a two-prong onto Site B. Will Ragnarok be able to defend this? Vino sitting in Death Hallway at the moment. Blame Flam still in the back of Site B. TJ Clark and Scottish Ripper providing some support through connector, but here comes Hickman into Site B. They find Blame Fam. They find a second on a Scottish Ripper. Vina looking to push in, and it's now a 3 versus 4. Goblin might get shut out, but here comes Mark and Casey. Rise takes out Mark. Casey finding a refrag, and now it's a 3 versus 2 as TJ Clark finds a kill on the Goblin. It's now a 2 versus 2, and the EMP is down. They don't have possession of it over on Acer EU. It's in the corner. It's in the worst possible spot because they're going to have to expose themselves if they want to get that EMP planted. I wonder why they tried to plant it right on that portion of wall. Maybe they were trying to go and sit on the hatch, but now things are really looking dangerous for Acer EU.
I saw a real interesting note in chat. This is when they need Makomo the most to break their mentality and focus up a little bit, or have a little bit of a more lighthearted attitude in their lobbies, because they are having a hard time with the picks. 2v1, Vino needs to clutch. A huge moment for this team. And TJ Clark goes down. TJ cannot lock in the 1v1 here, but now it's up to Casey, who has found multiple kills already this series with 45 seconds left and EMP down. What is Vino going to be able to do?
It's all coming down to this, a 1 versus 1, just half a minute on the clock. Look at the positioning here from Casey, though. I'm wondering, I mean, they're going to hear the sound cue from that EMP. Vino looking to push up. And are they going to be able to get this EMP planted? Just 20 seconds left on the clock. Vino moving up. They tap the EMP. Oh, they're getting nervous. They're hesitating a bit. There's one charge. They hear Casey on the move. Casey blind firing over the death box. Vino has to tap it again. There's just 5 seconds left on the clock. Vino breaks away from the EMP. They're going to just... The target player, and Casey finds Vino with the trip mines. Oh my goodness, it's 5-0. Casey played that beautifully. They're still not losing rounds here on Ragnarok.
What is going on today? EU opening things up with an amazing series, and Ragnarok are pushing for a 6-0 half. I mean, here's the deal. We could be, at this point, maybe getting too excited about the 6-0 defensive half, because it's just, is it going to happen again when we swap sides? Is Acer EU going to be able to come out on top and catch this win? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it is it's to be determined. But right now, with this final round of the half, Ragnarok in a huge advantage. They're looking to go 12 rounds unanswered against the #1 EU team that's been undefeated the entirety of the season and postseason. Doesn't mean that Acer EU will be out by any means. When we swap sides, they'll have a chance to defend, but that pistol round, if it goes Ragnarok's way and they 7-0 this map, the only thing that Acer EU can do is tie 7-0 in map 2 and tie the series to go to a map 4. You know, like there's not a lot of options that are getting left out for this Acer squad as Ragnarok finds another opening kill against this push in, and there's a good refrag from Vino.
A refrag, double frag as Acer EU looking to get that EMP planted. And Ragnarok, are they going to be able to shut him out? They will. They stop the EMP. Rise picks up some damage here. There's 2.5 minutes on the clock as Rise does manage to find the kill on Casey. And it's now just a 2 versus 1. Scottish Ripper does find the kill on the Rise. It's now just down to Mr. Tabs, who's got a 1v2 against Blame Fam and Scottish Ripper. 2 minutes 15 on the clock. They tried to get that EMP down, but it didn't happen. And now the pressure is on. This could be Ragnarok's opportunity. They do. They lock out Acer Acer EU from the first half here. One win here, one more win on the pistol round, and they could go and completely shut out Acer EU on map 2. Will they be able to do what Acer EU could not?
Now, here's an interesting thought, right? Is that we know that these teams share strategies between the NA side. So if you're an NA player, are you watching how Ragnarok is beating Acer EU right now? Like, oh, this is an interesting strat. Let's try that till later today. I don't know. You know, there's a possibility that all of that could be getting factored in, but this is incredible from Ragnarok, and what a massive round that we come up to now. Because 7-0 is more than it means so much. I see people asking how this all works. Is it up to rounds? Why isn't it maps? If they had won map 1, then we would be going off of map wins. We would be using map wins to determine our victor. But because they tied one of the 3 maps, it means that no matter what, we're playing all 3 maps out. And it means that if you tie both those maps in wins, so if one team wins one map and another team wins the other, then we're going to be tied on map wins overall. And then it's going to come down to round wins. And so with that in mind, we know that if a team wins 7-0, that it's going to come down to only a few amount of rounds being available at the end of the day. The math is there, okay? Believe me when I say what I'm saying and what I know about these rounds, but it is huge if Ragnarok can lock this in. And that nade from Mr. Tabs, they got lucky that thing just rolled off of the hill and didn't catch any more. Vino picking up one, and there, Scottish Ripper not finding a clean headshot and damage getting done. Nade on the backside from Hickman, and finally Acer have a kill advantage on defense 4-3.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Is this the start of the Acer EU comeback? They've got the 2 prongs set up, but they're all very low. Rise finds TJ. Blame fam looking to get EMP planted. Uh-oh. And it's now down to 1-6. So now the pressure is on for Ragnarok. You thought going 6-0 was the easy part? No, that was just the start. Because now they need to find at least one round here on their offensive half. And that is, you know, you'd think, okay, come on, it's one round. They could easily do this, but that is easier said than done. We saw Acer EU try it in the previous map. It didn't happen. Now, the pressure's on for Ragnarok to find some success here, and every round that they give to Acer EU is going to be a round that they're going to have to make up for on map 3. So we'll see if they can pull out a win here, but they didn't get it on the pistol round, so things are starting to look a little bit scary for them.
They sure are, and this is definitely going to look like a Acer 2 point coming up here because they've got that extra buy going in, and you're seeing Ragnarok fully going. They're not even picking up any utility. So I don't think Ragnarok are going to be able to do a whole lot here, and they're going to go for this very fast swing in.
Oh my
They
goodness.
catch an opening kill onto Casey, though. That's not a rifle, though, and they do push in. Vino and Rise take big damage, but everybody getting cleaned up as they try and barrel in, and a very fast round. Interesting strategy. I like to think about it this way, Bob. If you know you're going to lose, or at least you suspect it, right? You're not confident in that second round, or maybe the objective isn't where you're hoping it to be. Just doing that and sending in your team to die fast is actually more beneficial for Ragnarok than Acer. Acer get a quick couple of, quick in their pocket, sure, but it's a nice fast reset for Ragnarok to just get into their full buy round. They're not messing around in the pistols. There's no extra hope coming in. They're not doing they're not finding kills. It does mean you're not doing damage to the economy of Acer, but at the same time, it's an interesting way of going about the mentality of it for Ragnarok if you are Ragnarok. And because they all ecoed and didn't buy a single thing last round, it's a full buy here in round 3. It's everything going in to this round, this third round of the half from this Ragnarok squad on the attack.
I'd like to see a little bit more utility from Ragnarok, but
Yeah.
I mean, they do have some grenades here. They got a breaching foam, a drone, so this is a big round for them. This is their full buy round. They've fielded 5 Vezins. They've got util. They're trying to meet Acer EU in terms of power. They've played on Hideout. This is their best performing map. If they want to have a good shot at winning this series, they've got to close things out early before Acer EU can build up that momentum. And, if you shut things out here 7-2, that would devastate the mental of Acer EU, I feel, and it would make their job significantly easier in that third map. But either way, here we are on round number 9. If you're just joining us, map 1 was a tie, and map 2 is only getting better and better with each round. Scottish Ripper does get that breaching from down on the site A wall. Now 2 minutes 10 as Vino playing on the bomb. Mark pushing up to that site A door. There goes the wall. The positioning swap a bit. A bad frag from Ragnarok. You get that static field emitter. Mark finds the pick on to Mr. Tabs. Vino dropping to smoke center as we do see a frag tossed. Where did that go? Oh, it's right on top of TJ Clark. They get the EMP planted. And now it's time for Ragnarok to scramble. Vino looking to chase. Scottish Ripper over in family with balcony. Scottish finds 2. Casey finds 1. It's not just down to Vino. Vino goes down. It's a 7-2 game. They've done it. Ragnarok has shut out Acer EU 7-2. They just need to win 3 rounds on map 3, and Acer EU is out of the playoffs.
Bob, what a amazing round win for Ragnarok. A massive clutch from this Ragnarok squad as you're seeing the kisses of celebration coming in from Ragnarok. And we get a win screen for the first time this afternoon, and it's not the one that people were expecting, Bob. It's Ragnarok up 7-2 in map 2. And here's the win conditions that we have set for map 3. If Ragnarok get 3 rounds in this next map, they win the series. The reason being is that if we do the math and you add up all of the numbers, the maximum amount of rounds that can be scored is only a certain amount. And so if Ragnarok get 3 points and Acer win map 2, or map 3, excuse me, this final map, if they were to win 7-3, Ragnarok would win because you would add up all of the rounds, and Ragnarok would have more rounds than Acer EU. And so again, what this means is that Ragnarok now, going into this third map, just need 3 rounds against Acer EU, and they will advance on to the grand finals tomorrow. They will eliminate Acer EU, knock them down into the 3rd place series, and quite frankly, surprise a lot of folks that are tuning in here this afternoon. I saw a lot of folks shouting out Bob for the energy, and it's hard not to have energy when you've got a series like this, quite frankly, as the underdogs are coming out on top. And I imagine we're going to go into some semblance of a timeout, maybe an intermission. But before we do, a quick shout out to our sponsors, Triangle Factory, the #1 sponsor of VRML for Season 2, coming in and supporting us on that prize pool on the cash side. They're a reason why that prize pool has grown on the cash side, and we do appreciate Triangle Factory. Obviously also contributing in and flying out the top 2 North American teams to play live at VRMLCon July 20th and 21st. That'll be decided later today, Bob. In like a couple of hours, we're going to figure out who those 2 teams are. We could have an overlap, so quite frankly, be ready for the possibility of this stream still going to finish the best of 3 and NA starting at least into their pre-show. There's going to be a lot going on this weekend, in particular today and tomorrow. And again, you're not going to want to miss those NA VRMLCon qualifiers. Essentially, is what we're calling them, because that's what they are. One of two teams of the 4 squads are going to advance on to fly out to the grand finals. So all possible by Triangle Factory. We appreciate them. We're also sponsored by HyperX. You're hearing my voice on the Procast S. A big shout out to them for supporting the casting team and our North American prize pool. We're also sponsored by ProTube, coming in on that cash side. We do appreciate their contribution. Obviously, that getting shared down to the EU side. And ProTube, a fantastic stock option that helps stabilize your aim in any of your favorite VR shooters. I love my mag tube with the magnetic cups on the bottom that snap into place on your stock that goes to your shoulder to stabilize your aim. Big shout out to ProTube. You can get a discount by using code ILOVEVRML at checkout. And last but not least, we're sponsored by Helga, the esports bot manager, a stellar bot that helps you organize and schedule all of your VRML games. You can actually get a free version of the bot exclusively for VRML players by using code VRML2024OKF when you create your account. A big shout out to the Helga bot team. We really appreciate them and their support, and a great app that I highly recommend. We're going to go to a brief break because I think that's what's been called here. A timeout is in effect. And so me and Bob will go to a quick pause. We'll run a few ads, and when we come back, we'll be deciding who's going to be playing in the North American Finals, Acer EU or Ragnarok. You're not going to want to miss it. Don't go anywhere.
Still tucked in. Doesn't get flashed. There's the canal with a double kill. Minnow Tiger with slide.
Nessie going to clean up things with final frag, and just like that, F3 are getting chipped apart by Heyne, and their headshots. Bot is exposed, and down they go. Can Heyne find the quadra kill with the Taurus? back, everybody. Thank you for patiently waiting, and we are about ready to dive into our third map, our series decider for the EU semifinals between Acer EU and Ragnarok. If you are just tuning in, you have missed an amazing series, one that I didn't think we'd be looking at, quite frankly, today, Bob. A 6-6 factory, a 7-2 hideout, and our third map of the afternoon is going to be taking us to Ship. And Ship, I think we're going to have to look at the stats. I don't think it's a Acer map, but I could be wrong on that. And so we'll have to hold on. We'll have to see again where we go with this Ship pick, Bob. Where do you see us heading between Acer and Ragnarok this afternoon on Ship of all things?
Yeah, if we could grab a quick look at the matchup data. My prediction here, my theory is that this was okay. Well, that's completely out the window. I thought it was going to be an Acer EU pick, and Ragnarok decided for the defensive side. But I don't know how they got a map that they perform well on, and they also got defense on Ship, because they've been playing a great defensive game, and they've got good rounds in on Ship. So. I mean, how did they get both? How did they get both like the optimal conditions here?
Something has to have happened here in terms of them picking a side, and I don't know if those stats are right, but have they played Ship? I don't see Ship there. Maybe it's just not pulling their Ship stats in. You know what I mean? But I can't imagine.
I don't know if they played it at all.
I can't imagine they banned Ship in all of. Maybe they banned Ship in all 8 of the matches they played this season. You know, and they never played Ship over the regular season. That's a real reality. I don't think we saw them play Ship. I mean, that's crazy. You wouldn't ban it here in the finals, though. You know, you have one. I don't under. What would you ban? What are you ban? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they're the secret strats that Acer has been practicing on Ship that we don't know about. Okay. Because quite frankly, Acer has been scrimming against Acer NA. And when you scrim against Acer NA on Ship, you're gonna get some pretty good Ship strats. So it could be a secret weapon they're trying to deploy here this afternoon against Ragnarok. I don't know, but so far, Casey's opening things up with an early kill, and they're up 5-4.
Oh goodness! There goes the hatch into kitchen. I'm nervous for Acer EU, because this seems like it's going to be a very uphill battle for quite some time, and they can't lose 3 rounds at all. If they do, they're out of the series. Casey does go down to Rise. So it's a bit of a bounce back from Acer EU.
Yeah.
And now just a minute and a half on the clock. Gooblin and Mr. Tabs still upstairs, potentially waiting for some kind of roamer. There's the breaching foam on the red hallway. Here comes a frag. Tossed down. Gooblin dropping, looking to get that EMP planted. Scottish Ripper, we're going to make their move, and they do find Gooblin, but they also go down to 2 quick kills, fall in favor, and now it's just down to a 1 versus 2. It's down to Mr. Tabs, but they do manage to find the kill on the Blame Famine. It's now just down to Mark versus Mr. Tabs. They do get the EMP planted, but Mr. Tabs flicks on the Mark, and there's an early round for Acer EU. Oh my goodness, I thought Mark had that, but if they had just a bit more health, I think that could have been an early round win for Ragnarok. But now there's some opportunity on the table.
This is crazy, Bob, because I think a normal scoreline you'd anticipate on Ship is like 4-2 in favor of defense.
Right.
I got to swap sides here because I had Acer on defense for that round. Apologies. The names at least were wrong. Ragnarok is on defense. Acer's on the attack. And I got to wonder, gosh, that would have been 1 of 3 rounds they need, Bob. 1 of 3. You're a third of the way there to victory if they had just gotten those final kills. 2 left alive. What a clutch from Mr. Tabs to spin to win and find that kill. I mean, that's Acer. When it matters and when it comes down to those clutches, they win them. And right now, well, they won at least the first of what needs to be essentially 7 in a row. They need. Wow, there's a lot. There's a lot to this one, Bob, and we're only into the beginning of it. And Acer are opening things up nicely with a 1-0 start.
And we're seeing Ragnarok on a bit of an eco around here. Not a super eco. They do still have different kinds of pistols up, but Blam Blam manages to catch Mr. Tabs with a Taurus. So it's all about finding picks here for Ragnarok. But Goblin taking out Scottish Ripper. That's both of their Taurus players down early into this round. At 2 minutes 25 on the clock, PJ Clark looking for a bit of damage onto Goblin. But here come Hickman and Vino getting ready to push those Vezins deep into navigation. And I think this is going to be pretty ugly for Ragnarok here. Mark is the only member. Oh, no, excuse me. TJ Clark is also in navigation. Casey on the flank as Hickman pushes it and finds TJ Clark. Mark is alone, and they get brutally double swung as Hickman finds that pick. And it's now just down to Casey. Hickman anticipating the flank. Casey almost finds it, but now they've given up their location. Hickman finds that. That's the second round in favor of Acer EU. So now they're going to get some extra money here. But Ragnarok, they'll be able to full buy on this round. So potential round for Ragnarok, but not a good start at all for Ragnarok. If they come all of this way and they can't get 3 rounds here on ship, that would just be heartbreaking for them.
Yeah, and folks, I mean, I think folks are right in chat. I think Acer had the map picked, Bob, and like I said, maybe I'm right. It would make sense, quite frankly. But what a long play. I mean, okay. Let's get our tinfoil hats on. I wish I had some tinfoil and I could make one. But let's just consider Acer banned ship all season long. So that teams think that Acer isn't good on ship. And then Acer practices ship against Acer NA, and they get strats isolated in their own ecosystem, and then they use them on the only time when a team picks it against them, or they pick it themselves and the team's not expecting it, and you get to ban your opponent's favorite map instead. It would be the longest con to the postseason. You know, it would be a huge mind play at the end of the day, and maybe it is what they've done here on the Acer side. And if they have done this, I gotta wonder if they've done this on the NA side. And if they have done it on the NA side, then they're exposing an NA strategy before we get to it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could see that. That is certainly wild conspiracy.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I went down the rabbit hole there. I apologize.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, maybe Acer EU is playing the psychological warfare game, and they are going to try, and find some rounds against Ragnarok here with a map that they don't often, they haven't ever played in League. But in any case, Hickman picks up a lot of damage. Scottish Ripper manages to find the kill on Avino, but here's Blame fam over in bunks. They may catch a pick onto Rise. Only 2 minutes on the clock. Blame fam, I think almost got pinched by Hickman and Rise, but Rise has rotated over to the window, and now 1:45 on the clock, and it's a 4 versus 5 with Acer EU on the player disadvantage at the moment.
Again, moment that you don't want to be in on Acer's side. You can only afford 1 round loss. If you lose 2, it means you can only tie this map and you have to go to a 4th. If you lose 3, you're out of the series. And Acer down 3-5 on this offensive half. Get the EMP down, but it's up to Mr. Tabs and Rise now in a 2v4. Trying to clutch things up with the EMP on the wall and the team here to defend. They swing and can't find the connections they need, and Rise has to do this himself in a 1v4. This could be 1 of 3 that Ragnarok need.
And I think if this does go in favor of Ragnarok, it's going to quickly snowball in their favor. Next round, they should be able to get Vezins up again. Rise does drop. They're going to push, but Scottish Ripper secures the refrag. So we're in the danger zone. So for Acer EU, they are not allowed to mess up anymore. I mean, if they want to win this series, they have to win every single round from here on out. If they want to tie this series, they can give up 1 more round. But if they want to win, they can no longer lose. If they lose 3, they're immediately out to Ragnarok. Ragnarok is a third of the way there already. I want to say that was a big timing issue again that we're seeing here on Acer EU. I think that they needed to push Rise through red hallway and open up that wall to take out the 2 Ragnarok players there, but they just couldn't break through. Goblin dropped. They didn't have anybody to support them, and yeah, we're seeing some timing issues here from Acer EU, and that is hurting them. That hurt them on Hideout. They had a big mishap on one of their rounds, and it really cost them their round. And now we're seeing it again. They've got to start finding some rounds here against Ragnarok, but Ragnarok has some good economies, so they could really make it work here. But Goblin does find Casey. That could be a positive start for Acer EU.
1 of 4 on their opener here as the drone comes in from Rise to do a bit of assessment work for the team, try and identify some of these defensive positions. And you really do see just how prioritized getting rid of the drone is for this offense. Eliminating the eye, eliminating the ability to identify positions and get information is vital. And they prioritize sometimes throwing nades at drones in some cases to prevent them from getting through doors. There's a lot of focus at the end of the day that goes into eliminating that drone. And it got some good info that forces a little bit of a rotation out of the Ragnarok defense. And Acer are going to have to adjust accordingly when they make their way in as they finally regain advantage 4-3.
Brutal swing from Vino as we're down to a 4 versus 3. Goblin swings in, but Blame Fam finds that kill. Vino's going to push Mark and finds the pick, but they do get refragged as it's now just down to Hickman. It's become a 1 versus 2. Hickman finds 1, and it's now just down to a 1 versus 1 between Hickman and T. Clark, and Hickman finds. They keep themselves afloat here on ship, and they continue to move further into the first half. Ragnarok are starting to run out of opportunities here.
I had to get up. I had to stand up. I had to stand up after that one. I mean, they are so close. They are so close on the Ragnarok side, but Acer are being Acer and clutching when they need to. And going to round 5 of the first half of map 3, that's deciding this series, and it's crazy just how much this is going back and forth as again, Acer are really stepping up to the task on offense. Ragnarok continue to impress, quite frankly, though, as they are battling every inch of the way here. The trouble is right now, Bob, their economy isn't in great shape, but, I mean, realistically, neither is Acer's. Because of this back and forth, Acer are also spending every bit of money they have into this round, and this could be a moment where if they lose here, Ragnarok have a real solid chance of taking a 3-3 half and winning the series.
Yeah, things aren't looking great for Ragnarok right now. They managed to get a round in, but they still have to get 2 more, and they still have time to get that. They're by no means in danger of losing yet, but they need to start finding these picks here. They're having a tough time on ship defense, and if they can't find some rounds here, I think it could quickly fall out of their hands once they switch sides. You know, offense is typically the harder side to attack here. So chances are running out for Ragnarok. They're stacking over inside A right now. Mark is putting down double trip mines in cafeteria. That was pretty risky. I would be worried they opened the hatch on me. Scottish Ripper standing up, but Vino quicker on the trigger finds a headshot with 2 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock.
Tabs will get healed up to keep Acer at full HP, and another headshot coming in. This time on to TJ Clark, another huge shooter for Ragnarok as that nade nearly catches well on the backside, but doesn't, and so they're still alive and in this one on defense. 3v5 with sight being pushed. Mark getting healed back up. Limited utility available, but Mark does have a nade primed and ready to go when this breach does come through.
AC on the flank there. They've got just a Jesper, no kind of rifle or anything, so they're not going to be a major help to their team unless they can recover the Vezin of TJ Clark, which they will be able to do. Now just a minute and a half on the clock. Tabs and Vino have both picked up a considerable amount of damage, but they do have to worry about getting that EMP planted fairly soon. Mark sitting towards the back of cafeteria. They do have a frag grenade. ready for any kind of potential push. There's some trip mindset as well. Goobin looking to get that EMP planted. Here comes the frag from Mark. Will it go to the other side? No, it doesn't. Not a good frag from Mark. And now there's only 45 seconds on the clock. Gooblin finding Blame Fan, but they walk right into the trip mines. That could leave some opportunity open for Ragnarok. Mark may get picked by Mr. Tabs here. They're about to walk right into each other. Mark finds Mr. Tabs, and we're now into a 2 versus 3 Vino developing into Cafeteria, and the pressure's on here to get these picks and get the EMP planted. But I think what we're going to see is Mark and Casey back off and try and find their second round on round 6, the halftime round, carry those Vezins in. And then this is a big bet. They're going to try and get their third and final round somewhere in the offensive half. Oh my, this is a big gamble from Ragnarok. We'll see if it pays off.
I can't. I'm the cameraman right now, and I can't watch. You know, I'm in a real bind. You know, like I need to close my eyes and just listen to Bob and just like, oh, I can't watch this series. It's too. It's crazy. It's crazy. And Acer EU are stepping up to the task, quite frankly, like you said, Bob. But gosh, this is it. This is postseason, man. This is what you're here for. The off-meta buys, the off choices, the pick that you didn't expect on the map you weren't anticipating, the eco on a round you wouldn't normally eco on, just so you can get that second point in the half so that you're one closer to getting the series. It's insane that we're at this moment right now in the semis and that we're kicking things off like this on EU's side. I can't believe that this is how the day starts, Bob, and only starts, because we have another series after this, IV versus Immortality / Eternity. That one's going to be insane. And then after that, NA starts almost, I mean, they could be overlapping, quite frankly. NA starts with the pre-show at 1:30, and then we dive into our first series where Acer goes up again on the NA side, and we get to watch them at 2 p.m. PST. That is, again, 3 hours from now. So we got a series and a half to get through before we get there. What a day for Mark! Oh!
Mark dropping a double kill. That's an S-tier frag right there. EMP is down as Acer EU looking to pick up the pieces from that horrible start to the round there. I don't know if you could call it luck. I think that was some good timing there from Mark and a very, very solid throw. 2.5 minutes on the clock. This is a big chance for Ragnarok. What is that? Was that an incendiary toss by Acer EU? Yeah. Oh no, you don't want to be doing that here. Every bit of damage counts, and they're not even to the site yet. They haven't even started taking out any of those defenses, and they're already 2 players down with just 2 minutes on the clock.
I'm an Acer EU got lucky, because I thought they should have their whole team dead from that grenade, but only 2 went down, and so they're getting ready now to work their way in. A little smiley face on the wall before they break through. And Mark gonna shut things down from Acer. It's a 2v5. Bob and Ragnarok are trying to push it to 2-4.
Oh, Scottish Ripper goes down. It is a 2-4. Can Rise and Hickman clutch this up. Rise picks up some damage. Their Force use their heal. Hickman goes down to Blam Fam. It's now just no Rise. Can they clutch it up and keep Acer EU in this series? Can they keep them ahead? Remember, if Acer EU lose a round here, they're going to be forced to tie it up and play a 4th map. If they lose another one after that, they're out of the playoffs. So close to the finish line. Rise is making their way over to communications. If they can develop into the site, they may be able to get the EMP planted, but Blam Fam is waiting. Oh, there's a door blocker there. You could just feel the frustration from Rise as they're not going to be able to walk into the site quietly. They're forced to take out one of those door blockers. They have no breaching foam. Only 45 seconds left on the clock. What is Rise going to do here? Just 35 seconds now, and time is running out quickly. Casey waiting inside of navigation. Rise does pick up a frag grenade. Half a minute as Mark looking for a pick. The frag doesn't find anybody, and Blam is the one to find Rise. And now we're down to the tie from Acer EU. They need to win 3 rounds in a row just to go to a 4th map, and Ragnarok need 1 more for a win.
I got a good feeling somewhere deep down in me that we're gonna go to 4 maps somehow in this series.
I mean, it's certainly possible though, because I mean,
it's gonna be hard to get an offensive
seeing
round.
how Ragnarok plays, offensive on ship. This is our best opportunity right now in the pistol round to be able to get that. So I have a feeling we're going to see heavy investment. We're seeing heavy investment from both sides because I think they both realize just how important this is. Well, I mean, come on, Acer EU, they know how important this is. If they lose one more round here, they're completely out of the postseason in what would be probably the biggest upset we've seen so far. We saw IVNA leave round 1 of the playoffs last week, but to see an Acer team exit before the grand finals, I think would completely shock the community.
Here we go. Round 7, the opener of the half.
Oh no.
And it's starting nicely for Ragnarok as 2 go down from Acer. They tried to get aggressive on their defensive set. Rise tossing a nade around as the static emitter slows them, but that drone just following them all the way through. Foam goes down.
The tabs on the flank. They do manage to find one. The wall is open and it's now just down to a 4 versus 2. Mark finds a kill on the Goblin. And we do see a 3 versus 1 as Mark finds it. Casey finds it. They've done it. Ragnarok has taken. They've taken them out of the playoffs. They beat Acer EU. They're out. Semifinals. Oh my goodness. We've seen it. We've seen a Ragnarok win. It's the biggest upset to happen in the Season 2 postseason so far. Can you believe that?
What a way to start the day.
Wow.
I have to stop feeling the emotions I'm feeling because it's so hard to remain unbiased when you get vested into these teams, Bob. When you start to interview these squads, you know the emotions they're feeling, and I'm like, my body's being torn in half because it's like Ragnarok are beyond themselves right now, I'm sure. What an incredible achievement for them as a team off of a quite frankly awful start in map 1. You know, they really got rolled over 6-0. They had a total of like 5 kills. Their highest kill leader was the lowest on Acer. And they come back and defeat the #1 undefeated EU team in the region. It's a stellar story from Ragnarok, and they move on and are not done yet by any means. They have the finals to play out later tomorrow, where they will go up against the winner of our next matchup, IV versus Immortality / Eternity. And they're going to have a lot to go up against, Bob. There's a lot if they can compete with that series, I don't know how they're going to do it, but we have to move on. We got to get ready. There's more to come. There's more to go. Your closing thoughts, Bob, on this series, on Ragnarok, the underdogs defeating Acer EU.
I think for starters, we saw Ragnarok take that first half of Factory personally. I mean, they got 6-0 shutout in the first half, and they looked at each other and said, we are not going to let that happen again. And that takes some serious talent to and discipline as a team to get shut out that brutally and still go, we're still in this game. We still have plenty of time left to bring it around, and they did. They went to Hideout. They brought it on Hideout. 7-2 against Acer EU. They went to Ship. It took a lot of this game, but they realized, hey, we've got 12 rounds to make this thing fall into our favor. We can still bring this against Acer EU, and they did it again. They kick out the #1 team. Acer EU was undefeated. And I mean, this is a shock. This is going to send shockwaves here because an Acer team that consistently sits at the top of the leaderboard that everybody expects to go into the finals is out just before that opportunity. But in any case, that's going to do it for this first matchup. Don't go away though, because we're coming right back with IV versus Immortality in what is going to be another fantastic matchup. So we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Breachers VRML. I'm your host, Gibular Bob, and today we have Immortality, or Eternity EU. And well, they are one of our semi-finalists. So today with me, I've got Zav, I've got Niall, but we do just have a couple of very quick questions for you. So starting off, how does it feel to move on to the semi-finals? You went up against Formula 3 EU. There was a couple of close moments, so how does it feel to kind of make it past that hurdle?
Yeah, I mean, we were expecting to get to this point. Obviously, F3
Right.
gave us more of a challenge than we thought, but no, obviously, what can you say? It's great to be a semi-finalist. You know what I mean? Playing in the big screens, you know, it's fun. It's fun.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, I'm actually very happy to make it to semis. As last season, I got knocked out by this op, and it was very close. I believe it was like 6-6, 6-6, 7 something. So it was very close. But I'm happy that we're in semis. We predicted we'd get to semis anyway. It's just we're hoping now to get to grands, and if we can, then it'll be a major achievement for us in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, grand finals going to be coming up the day after semifinals. So, you know,
Yeah.
will there be a well, I guess before I ask that, is there anything you think you need to improve on before the semifinals?
I think my main thing for the team is discipline. So we're trying to get that kind of like discipline into the games. So trying to
Right.
slow down, make sure we're not like playing like control point basically. But yeah, that's the only thing. I think if we get that down, chill out, like the teamwork actually plays a team. Chill.
Absolutely, Niall.
Yeah,
anything to add?
basically, literally the same thing. We need to stop being so indecisive in what we do sometimes, and just stick to one thing. And then if that don't work, then we move on and play as a team, because we haven't really been doing that. And for me personally, I need to stop being indecisive as well with what headset I'm gonna play on, because I keep switching, and it's annoying, bro. I keep switching from Quest to CV, and it's actually so bad, bro.
Well, hopefully you can. Hopefully, there's just one headset to use for
And
the
hopefully hopefully in finals, my gun doesn't shoot to the other side of the map like it does before, like it has before. horrendous tracking, bro.
So, how are you going to prepare for the semifinals? I guess, you know, we've talked about working on that discipline, but, you know, maybe after the semifinals, say you get through, how are you going to prepare for those finals? I mean, that's going to be the day after, so you don't have a whole lot of time to prepare. You're going to take it easy. You know, how are you going to work on your team's performance?
I mean, as you said, after the semi-finals, it's going to be we're just going to have to like, you know, chill. The hype obviously for winning semi-finals is going to be great. The two opponents on the other side of the bracket, Ragnarok and Acer, both in our league records, we've come very close and beaten Ragnarok, and then we've haven't beaten Acer. So obviously, I think that day it would just be taking, you know, a break, maybe running a few like maps to try and find some sneaky stuff, which is what we've been doing already. So wait for that on the stream. But yeah, just find a few tricks up our sleeves that we can find within a day's notice. But you know,
are you more worried? Let me ask you this, Niall. Are you more worried about IV, or are you more worried about Acer EU or Ragnarok?
I'm more worried about IV than any of those teams.
Really?
Right,
Interesting.
and let me tell you why. So Ragnarok, really, they have some really good players that can stand out, right? They're not unbeatable. They're a beatable team.
Right.
We've done it in scrims. We became close in our first VRML match. We beat them in BCO, and we beat them again in VRML. Did we beat them in VRML again, Zev? Or did we not play them again?
I think no, when we played VRML, it was like 6-6 something.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then like I feel like Acer, that you can learn them, play them, blah blah blah. You scrim them quite a bit. But with Ivy, they're unpredictable. They can either play one way or another, or like just mumble jumbled around, and they're just a team that is very hard to predict sometimes. And you never know.
All right, awesome. Well, of course, we do thank Zavdislav and Niall for giving us the opportunity to interview them, and you can catch their match coming up this Saturday against IV EU, the EU team. And then after that, they may have the potential to move on to the finals. But for now, that is going to do it for us over here at the Breachers VRML. I'm Gibular Bob. This has been Niall and Zav with Immortality. We'll catch you all in the next.
Welcome, everybody, to the Season 2 Final Four for EU Breachers VRML. My name is Nightfire with 2 E's. I'm joined by Gibular Bob for another best of 3. We just came off of an amazing upset from Ragnarok, winning against Acer EU. And now we have more of this cross-region branding, cross-region team combat happening, Bob. It's IV EU versus Immortality, aka Eternity, who I think has the NA team Eternity, and so now it's Eternity EU. And so again, you're getting the cross-region squads battling it out here. But between these two, what are you expecting this afternoon?
I have more confidence in IV. Okay. I think IV are just consistently strong. They've been around, they know what works for them, and they execute perfectly. I mean, you're going to see Vezins. So here's what you're going to see from them. You're going to see probably a pistol win, and if they do get a pistol win, you're immediately going to see 4 Vezins coming out. Vezins and frag grenades. They buy into Vezins round 2, and it's because they've got the confidence that they'll be able to carry those Vezins for, quite a few rounds and potentially all throughout the first half. They go for that early momentum, and they are a strong team. So I think we're going to see a pretty strong performance from IV. Immortality, they played against Formula 3 EU last week. They had a pretty close matchup there. It really went back and forth a couple of times. So we're going to need to see them work on that consistency. I know I was talking to Zav and Niall this week for the interview. They were saying we got to stop playing like it's Control Point. It's swinging every angle and not valuing their teammates' lives, because you need to keep people alive here. You only get one chance per round. Yeah. You can't respawn, and you've got to be playing very carefully.
We're just waiting on teams to jump into lobby, and we should be starting into this series soon enough. And so a quick shout out to everyone that has stuck around from the Acer EU series against Ragnarok to the beginning of this Immortality versus IV1. And, it's interesting, Bob, because this is the one that I was actually looking forward to more. I kind of wrote off Acer EU and Ragnarok as a series that was going to kind of be one way or another, and it definitely went one way, but not the way I was anticipating. And so, incredibly exciting. And now I'm wrong on one of 2 predictions. I predicted Acer EU would make their way through, and that we'd have an Acer IV finals. And so, if there's anything out there to be worried about, IV got to be worried about my prediction and what I've made, and the prediction I've made that I think IV is going to win today, because I'm not on a good streak right now. The number 1 team getting knocked out. I won't take responsibility for it, okay, by any means, but, I'm at least not right so far. So we'll see if that's a continuing trend as we do get everyone in the roster, everyone in the lobby here, and we are very close to diving into this action again. And what a day, Bob, it has been. We are really, again, just getting started. I'll have to come back to you, because we are actually getting started now, diving into the map onto Skyscraper to open up this series. Again, it's Immortality. I almost said it's Immortality on the defense, IV on the attack for our first map in this best of 3. If you're just tuning in, you missed a lot. You missed a fantastic series that we had in going up against Acer EU, and now another good one that's about to start here against IV and Immortality. It's again, Bob, another huge series that we get here this weekend. NA starting a few hours after this. There's a lot to look forward to.
And you just see the early huddle coming in from Immortality. They're getting ready, hyping themselves up, getting ready to start here against IV. This is a big matchup for these teams. Number 2 versus number 3 to meet Ragnarok in the finals. And here we go, starting things up for the second EU matchup of the day. Drone moving into lobby right now. Kramu, Beaver, Antbutt, all sitting outside of lobby. We do see 4 Spectrals and a Cyclone coming out from IV. They're on the move. They've picked up their frag grenades. and they are going to go for an aggressive start. This team, they've played here, the entire season. They've been, since the start, they played 12 games. They've only lost twice. They know what they're doing, and they are getting ready to find some early momentum here against Immortality. But here's Caramel looking for an early Taurus pick. Frag tossed into the back of Site B. It's going to find a bit of damage onto Zav. Both sides picking up some early damage with no clear winner in sight.
No clear winner in sight here. The setup definitely around B, though. The site very clear on where we're pushing, as IV is fully set up around here. The foam getting tossed around up, well, not quite accurately, as but has to grab it there off the corner and then toss it up to Beaver, and botches the toss again. Finally gets it over to Beaver, and now Beaver can foam the wall in a bit of cover. And yeah, again, the setup very much B site. They got both walls foamed, actually, so it's going to be a breach and then a foam following up off of this flash, most likely, which does connect onto 2 pretty nicely here to the counter utility coming in over the top from Immortality, and it does not connect.
Riz looking to move in. There's the second frag. It's going to catch a bit of damage onto Matt as Beaver opens up the cross angle. Does get refragged by Nile, but we're in a 4 versus 3 already. The IV getting that EMP planted. Sam Smith and Nile finding 2 kills of their own. Riz refrags Zav as Nile finds 1, and it's now just down to Riz, who does manage to pick up 1 onto Nile. And now it's a 1v1 between Riz and Sam Smith. Riz finds the opening round for IV, and if my prediction serves me right, we're about to see 4 Vezins coming out from IV. How many are they going to buy? However many they can buy.
Yeah, there's 2 in the floor. Is that all they can afford? I think so.
Yeah, that's all they can afford.
Yeah, they get they'll buy every gun they can afford, every Vezin they can afford. But that replay again, I mean, Bob, there was 12 HP left on Riz at the end of that pistol round. It doesn't come much closer in a 1v1 than that. And again, what a crazy way, what a start to this series here. As I do actually have to, I just realized teams are on the wrong sides. I'll swap them. Immortality on defense again, IV on the attack. And I mean, come on, a 1-1, 12 HP. Like, you can't get more close than that to kick this thing off. And what an opening round if we do consider all the skyscraper facts. We were talked a little bit about them in relevance to ship in that Acer series. They're kind of relevant here in skyscraper in terms of that the defensive side tends to be the dominant side on this map. And so the fact that they've got themselves around on the attack is already a pretty big foot in the door to potentially winning this first map.
Yeah, one of our other fellow casters here, Yellow Hat, calls this skyscraper syndrome, where the defense is stronger. But yeah, I mean, that's a good start for IV. They've picked up their offensive round very, very early, and now they get some Vezins. So that's going to carry through with them through the first half. And again, IV, they're going to play off of their momentum. It's what they do best, really. They will have to watch for Nile, who is on the roam, but Beaver opens up that door into bathroom. Carmel over in the vent, narrowly escaping the Vezin of Karamu. And there's now just 2 minutes 10 on the clock. Nile making their way ever closer on the flank. Will Beaver find that pick? They're all moving over towards the B2 lounge to get ready to push. Karamu rotating over into bathroom. Riz finds the kill onto Zav. They're going to have to move before Nile finds a pick here. With that Cyclone, Beaver watching the flank along with, they now know where Nile is. There's the flank. Carmel making their way up the side of the B2 lounge, but they're in danger of getting overwhelmed by IV, who find a second pick onto Carmel. Karamu just dropping everybody on Immortality. It's now just down to Sam Smith.
And Sam won't be alive for long as the other Vezin from Beaver springs to action and cuts them down. And IV are, well, I gotta watch my words now at this point. I gotta be cautious about what I say about a team that's leading or not. But that was a very clean opening set for IV at the very least. They've got some good momentum here on the attack. They're going into this third round fully kitted with money in their pockets in case of a loss. So at the very least, their next 2 rounds are gonna be this team putting their best foot forward on the offense, and that's a huge advantage you don't find yourself in very often on Skyscraper. You're not often finding an opportunity where you actually have a good economy on the attack because of that Skyscraper syndrome. And a shout out to Yellowhead also doing the Vale Challenger Cup this weekend, which is also live if you want to catch some of that action, if you want to multi-stream all of the games. I think EU just ended though, but NA will be starting up later today. I think you're going to want to stick around for Breachers NA qualifiers, quite frankly, but get it all up on the stream. And a big shout out to Yellowhead again for jumping in and casting Vale. We'll be doing Vale top 8 next weekend, and then the qualifiers for Vale for their 2 NA teams the following weekend after that. So there's a lot of great VRML esports action yet to come. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Vale VRML channel and get ready for a couple of weekends of Vale action over there that you're not going to want to miss. That'll be equal. I mean, hard to for any game to match up to what we've seen already, Bob. But it'll be pretty dang entertaining. I can guarantee that. This
is just such an exciting time for the VRML.
Yeah.
We're getting into finals, for each of the leagues. I know you were saying earlier, X8's coming up after Vale.
Yeah.
So, we're just starting to wrap up each league season before we get to VRML come, and we really watch it all play out. But Beaver tossing a frag way into the back of the broadcast room, and just narrowly, the frag doesn't get any damage onto those Immortality players, but Mad does find it, Riz. So this could be a good start here for Immortality. They don't have any other util aside from one frag. I imagine once they hear that EMP, we'll probably see that frag make its move. They're going for Amp UK, but look at this positioning. Although there's the frag from Mad, it does find some damage onto Amp, but Zav finding Beaver, Caramel dropping Amp, but Weeladdie makes their way over. They go down as well, and it's now just down to Karamu, who's on the flank as that EMP is getting defused by Zav. Very, very well played by Immortality.
Yeah, carry the rifle through at this point because it's not going to be easy to overcome the 1v5. Hasn't been defused yet. There's 2. Can't get 3, 4, and 5, though, but finally goes through, and that's actually a net positive. That's actually really huge. And a smart move at the end of the day. I was thinking eco this. Take your rifle through, but Ivy of all teams didn't need to eco. They didn't need to carry that rifle through because they had the extra money from that 2-0 win. The impact of getting those 2 kills at the end is actually pretty major to the overall economy of Immortality. Despite them winning that round, they are now in a bit of a rough space on the economy side because they lost those 2 rifles and they invested so heavily into that last round. I think they're able to get 4 still on the board, but it's not going to be a full 5 rifles. In comparison, also only 4 rifles. So a very interesting way of kind of equalizing things in favor of making it so that IV has at least a competing chance in terms of just purely the buy phase. They are actually now equivalent, whereas it would have been Immortality really in a very much more comfortable spot right now if they had all advanced through, which they were positioned to do. 5 alive pushing into that third. I mean, it could have been the complete reversal 4-2 at that point. But I think that's still not necessarily locked in yet as we do get into round 4.
Yeah, I mean, IV are also scraping a little bit. They've got Karamu on 0, Weeladdie 25, Ampbite with 50. So they're hurting for cash as well. Nobody's really pulling away too much yet. Both sides only able to field 4 Vezins. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe IV can find another round here. This is really their last chance to get another round in before they have to eco. Which would be very big. I mean, they've already secured 2 rounds on Skyscraper offense. So once they go onto that defensive half, I imagine we'll see them continuing to, keep up the pace. But in any case, 2 minutes 15 on the clock as we see Karamu, Ampa, and Itriz all on lower south. Here comes that drone into the office hallway, now making its way over to the bathroom hallway. Hasn't spotted any roamers. It's going to give that intel to Ivy as they get ready to push on to Site A.
Nice setup here. Immortality watching for that back flank from the window, which Beaver is set up to enter in through. You need to have eyes there as the wall opens up, I also anticipate maybe even a hatch on B side to get cracked as well to draw a bit of attention away from Immortality. As a good nade goes a bit past Nile, and Nile's still going to be able to hold down here in this tight corner. Beaver gets their head popped, and Itriz quickly with a refrag evens things out, keeps things 3-3. A side still not cracked as IVI can't make their way in because of some good, well-placed utility slowing them down.
Both teams have 2 Vezins in a Spectral up right now. Sam Smith getting tossed to Vezin from Zab, but look at this, Itriz is in the site, and Sam Smith quickly shuts that down, and then we're now into a 2 versus 3. It's down to Wee Laddie and Amp, against Caramel, Sam Smith and Zab with less than a minute on the clock. This is going to be tough for IV. Are they going to even try this? You know, at a certain extent, maybe it's a good idea to salvage, but they're going to continue to press this attack. Ampbutt UK now moves into offices, and Zav quickly shuts that down. It's now just down to Wee Laddie with half a minute left on the clock.
Gets info on Zav's location, goes for the challenge, goes for the 1 of 3, and on the retreat, Zav will actually apply a little bit of pressure. Scoops him up, and Immortality right back into this one. If anything, running away with what I think to be a 4-2 defensive half. Again, important to remind everyone of how these sides work, and that it could be, when we swap sides, that IV replicate a similar level of success on defense, and we could be sprinting to a 6-6 at this point, going into a guaranteed third map where we'll have a certain amount of rounds played out that'll be decided in round 2, just like last series was. It's all on the table right now, Bob, because these 2 squads are dead even. And like you said, Ivy's going to go into an eco round, so all intents and purposes, Immortality should have this guaranteed. They should lock this one in, go up 3-2, push into a final round of the half, and that's where things are going to get real important. That's... Maybe we go 3-3, quite frankly, on the half, and I still think that would net benefit IVI. Or IV, IVIM. That's what I'm going to call him. IVIM is what we'll call him now.
IVIM. You're getting the best of every world there. IV, IVI, and M. All in there at once, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're on an eco round now, so they're... I would say they're probably not going to pick this one up, but hey, anything can happen. Again, they did find 2 rounds on Skyscraper offense, so if they're hoping to bring it back onto defense, they've certainly left themselves with plenty of space to do so. They can still bring this, you know, I mean, best case scenario for either team is to go 4-2. They can still win 2 more rounds, you know. Whoever wins this one, they'd force the other team to try and go for a tie, but, you know, that's... a lot of overthinking. Right now, it's all about getting this win, keeping and Immortality keeping themselves, you know, ahead as much as they can. They want to try and go 4-2 here to make their offensive half go by a little bit easier, but they've already given up a lot of room to IVI to make things work. But you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens when we swap sides. But for now, we do see a drone go out from IVI. 2 minutes on the clock. Itriz looking for some shots. There goes the wall into conference room. We do see some trip mines set up. Are they going to try and bait those out, or are they going to miss them on IVI? I think they've already seen them, but double incendiaries tossed from Immortality to continue keeping IV out of the room. Now just a minute 40 on the clock.
Yeah, ooh, there's the early pick they needed on the Immortality side. And again, Ivy's just trying to hunt with utility. Throwing frags, opening up some walls, and trying to find a pick with a grenade so they can scoop up a rifle and be a threat. None of that has come to fruition yet, and everyone is full HP with rifles in hand on Immortality's defensive end. And so it's going to come down to that coordination, that teamwork, and the swing in. Double Viper buy, interesting commitment from Ivy. Maybe they had just enough cash to do it, but not, I guess, a full eco round at the end of the day. And they're going to try and get some hero kills with those Vipers to pick up pheasants to kind of, again, start to transition some of that momentum into their favor. There's a nice one with the Cyclone. Damage done. 2 picked up by Wee Laddie and Karamu. No. Another by Beaver and Karamu.
They're going to pick up the Vezin off of this. And where's the EMP? I can't see the... Oh, it's down in the hallway. There's only 40 seconds left, but Karamu finds a pick on Denial, and it's now just down to Sam Smith. Beaver looking to grab that EMP. They can actually go for it right now. Karamu looking to make their way around, but you don't really want to push here. Beaver is going to rotate back, use the cover that the partition provides. They're going to try and get that EMP set, in which case it would only be 45 seconds on the clock. But Karamu looks to swing. Oh my goodness, they just barely miss it. So there it is, the headshot that we were expecting to see. And look at this, Nightfire. IV picks up their third round. They stay in the lead here. If Immortality are going for a good defensive half, they're not getting one right now.
Yeah, that is a winning half right now for IV already. With the 3-2 in their pocket, what happens here is if they lose, it's not really the end of the world. They still go into the next half with confidence because of how well they've done on this offensive half. A 4-2 offensive win, quite frankly, sets them up very good for what is, in my opinion, a much easier to win map than anything else, obviously. And so we'll see, again, how this all works out. But either way, 3-3, 4-2, IV are in a good position on their offensive half. And, you know, when we swap sides after this round, that's really going to be the telling tale of how things go. Is Immortality going to be able to bring the same level of coordination and aggression that we're seeing from IV when they go on to the attacking side? I think that's the big question mark of the day ultimately, is how are these teams going to be on the attacking side on this map? Defense is kind of assumed to be, again, easier to do than anything else. And so maybe that assumption is wrong too, because Skyscraper, you know, there's a lot of options, and making the right choice ultimately is what makes you a successful defense. So I've certainly seen, and we've seen, Bob, plenty of defenses make the wrong choices in terms of getting too aggressive, overextending on the rotations. You know, there's a variety of ways where you can thin yourself out too much on this map because of just how many floors there are.
Yeah, you know, I think what's concerning me is Immortality going to be able to put in the same kind of offensive pace as IV are? I'm also hung up on that question right now, because we've seen teams recently that are pretty even in skill, and so, you know, offense might actually be the better half to play on Skyscraper. But at the same time, I mean, that defender advantage, I feel, still exists. We've seen good teams still pull way ahead on defense. So I'm wondering, is it, you know, is IV going to be able to replicate this when they go to the second half? Or are they going to start struggling like Immortality are? But I mean, they've found a third round here. If they're going for that good second half, they're already, you know, a foot in the door, you know, with 3 rounds. The best that Immortality can do right now is just tie it. And in any case, a minute 25 on the clock. Nobody's died. Nobody's even seen each other in this matchup so far. But once again, we're seeing IV getting ready to push green room. One of the walls is foamed, and it looks like it will be that 2-prong through green, through storage hallway into green room, and then through green hallway into green room. But for now, just a minute. What is IV doing here?
Playing it slow, and they have been sort of changing up their pacing a little bit, maybe to try and throw off the defense of Immortality. Look at the barrage of utility that's coming in as Karuma finds one. Headshots on the mat. Itrez swinging, catches another. Zav picking one up with a trip mine that wasn't assessed by the drone or by the earlier team that pushed in. And now it's a 4v2 as Zav and Sam almost kill themselves with a nade that doesn't quite bounce the way they were hoping. A good swing from Zav. Makes it a 2v2. Making it a 1v2. Making it a 1v3. Making it a 3v0. Do the math fast enough, and IVI have a 4-2 in the first half.
Ooh, wow, this is, well, now we're getting to the good stuff. We're getting to, you know,
the nail biters.
IV, the nail biter. If IV can keep up this same kind of pace here, I mean, if they can go 7-2 in map 1, this might be a very quick series here. At the very least, if we do get to that third map, they're giving themselves plenty of room to work with here. Yeah. We do see one from Immortality has disconnected, so hopefully they can get that player reconnected. Okay, there's Matt. You don't want to go 4-5 at this point.
No, and that would really be. I mean, can you imagine to have roster problems at this time? You know, the last time you'd want to have something like that happen. But hopefully, Immortality will be able to bounce back here. off of a bit of a rough defensive half. And like you said, Bob, really lock it in, coordinate up like we saw with IVI's side, put out an aggressive offensive rotation here, an aggressive offensive half, and start it all with a good pistol round win, which is where we're going into in round 7. The sides have swapped, we've reset economies, and whether it's intentional or not, Immortality are getting a slow start to things.
Just fresh 3 minutes on the clock as we're starting things off here in the pistol round. There's the drone going down, clearing upper north stairs. Zav and Sam Smith outside a podcast room. It looks like they may try and go a whole floor up and play on the hatches in broadcast room. But UK is on the move. They've probably heard multiple drops coming from north stairs. Zav and Sam Smith going down to the level below, now heading over to bathroom where Beaver might get in a very, very bad situation here, but Wheelatty was waiting, tossing a frag out, doesn't quite find anybody. Niall looking to push, but Beaver was waiting, covering for their teammate. Another frag toss, that's going to find Wheelatty, but Beaver picks up a second. Ramu finds a third, and now it's just down to Mad and Caramel. And I'm thinking we're seeing IV showing their defensive power here.
I mean, that was really nicely set up from Ivy on defense. The static emitter in particular doing tremendous work. The split put set up on that corner to literally buy into that push and allow it to happen so that they can shoot them in the back. Very good coordination from Ivy, and it's continuing through from their offense into their defensive half, where they're looking like they are trying to push this up into a map 1 victory here. Carmel has something to say about it, though, with 1 headshot of 4 that they'll need. 3 more to go.
You can just see, it looked like Carmel was shaking there a little bit, and that's probably the nerves there as UK finds them 5-2. They're now just 2 rounds off of winning map 1 here in this IV versus Immortality series. But I gotta say, I mean, they really played off of each other very well over there on IV.
Yeah.
I mean, that bathroom play, they had Wheelatty, defending Beaver defending Wheelatty, and just not giving Immortality the chance to capitalize off of any mistakes that they make.
Yeah, and at this level, it's what you get, right, Bob? You can't afford to make little
right.
mistakes.
Yeah.
Those really do eat you up at the end of the day, and we're seeing it happen live in real time this afternoon as IVI are not letting. There aren't any cracks. You're not seeing a lot of room for error. Immortality have found those 2 rounds. They did get their way in, but it's more than that. They need to now do what's toughest and perform on a very hard offensive half on Skyscraper down, and at this point, dangerously close to only being able to tie map 1 here.
Yep. And Immortality are going to need to start finding some momentum here, and they're going to start off by super ecoing.
That's one way to get things rolling.
And purchasing 5 Jespers, yeah. So I think at this point they've realized that their best option is to just go and try and tie up this map. But UK almost got picked, might get picked. Beaver finds a lot of damage. But does get a lot of damage as well. Look at that frag, that counter frag toss by IV. Finds a lot of damage on Denial as we see a drone making its way into storage. And now we're going to start to see Immortality develop into the site.
That was a really nice door blocker at the end of the day. Again, good utility from IV. And that door blocker denying any aggression of those nades, finding much purchase through the doorway, that window, the window being a terrible threat. The nade underneath the door blocker, all intentional from IV to try and get rid of at least one of these one of these players entering in, but they haven't. And instead, Immortality have actually gotten into a very good position despite the eco round. They've gotten all the way up to site, are going to be able to crack that wall and potentially even get an EMP plant down if Antbuck can't defend off the entirety of this squad. Oh, what a nade!
Oh, my
No,
God. Wow.
too far.
It went a little bit too far, yeah. But now just a minute 40 is Beaver shutting out Nile. Here's Ampa UK. They go down to Mad. And that might be Immortality's cue to push in and get that EMP planted. Itris finds the kill onto Mad, but they do get refragged by Zav. I got to say, for 5 Jespers, they're certainly doing a lot of damage here to IV. Karama finding Sam Smith, picks up the double kill onto Caramel, and it's now just down to Zav, who does get shut down by Wheelatty. And IV now 1 round off of winning map number 1.
Yeah, and doing it in a solid pace, no less. They'll have a lot of momentum moving into that second map where you could decide the series and be done with this thing. You don't have to go to 3. You don't have to play it down to rounds. You don't have to make it as intense as Acer EU and Ragnarok did last series. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be just based off of map wins. You can win 2 maps and be done. It's that. It is that easy at the end of the day. And we'll see if IVI is going to be able to do that here and at the very least get a nice lead going for them early in this best of 3. It doesn't mean by any means that I'm counting Immortality out. But right now, Skyscraper is very much into the hands of IV. This round, Bob, is huge. This is an opportunity for Immortality to maybe set things into their favor and potentially tie this map and make it like it was with Ragnarok. That's still a possibility. The 6-6 map 1 is still on the table.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have this feeling that maybe IV are not going to let that happen. I mean, they've got 2 heals here, and Immortality don't have any kind of support items. So, you know, they're not going to be able to recover health unless they kill either Karamu or Beaver. So I don't know. It's really just asking questions, you know, hypotheticals at this point. Is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? But yeah, this is a big chance for Immortality. They could get a foothold here, and like Knifefire said, turn it around in the exact same way that Ragnarok did against Acer EU. But they could also get shut down here. So now we're going to start seeing what happens as a frag is tossed out into lobby. Karamu doesn't quite find a pick with that. Niall waiting over in right outside of lobby lounge, as it does look like that push is going to be onto site A or conference with the breaching foam. Karamu and Beaver both double stacking in the conference hallway, and they're looking for some shots. Yeah, you can actually shoot through that shelf, believe it or not, and they tried to time it well, but they didn't quite find a pick.
That's what audio transmitters are for. You're trying to understand where your opponent is and then hit these wall shots. It sometimes seems like it's like they're able to see through the walls, but it is all the utility that comes together to get them that information. And we got to keep an eye on that flank that's slowly being worked by Amp, but it is defended by to some degree, but they're really holding this Immortality team down nicely for Amp to have some angles.
And they picked up quite a bit of damage here from IV. That's going to affect them once they try and push conference here. They've got a static field emitter they're also going to have to worry about. They do have double frag still on Immortality. So I imagine once that wall goes down, we're going to see a couple of frags tossed in. They're going to try and break up the formation of IV, force them to make some moves and potentially expose themselves as Mad finds Karamu. There goes a flash. That's going to catch Beaver, who has a frag of their own prime. Tossing that. Oh, no. Oh, it goes a little bit too far. Is Zavla going to get that EMP planted? Niall finding Beaver. But UK taking out Caramel as Niall finds their second kill. And it's now a 2 versus 4. Ampa UK out in lobby. Does get shut out by Zav. And it's now just down to Itriz to 1v4. And they can't make that happen. As Mad finds Itriz, it's a 6-3 game.
And now IV are in like a really weird spot because they spent big. Karamu and Wee Laddie can't buy rifles. And so what do you do here? Do you go partial? It's the eco management, man. We do not get a fast map. There's no way at this point in the semis that we're getting fast maps, quite frankly. It's something that should be out of anyone's mind. Despite scorelines getting close, despite 1 point being separating his teams from winning, it's postseason, and it can be the hardest thing to do is to win a map against your opponent because of everything that's come into it. 11 weeks of regular season gameplay, matching you against your opponents to determine the top 7 teams, those teams battling against each other in a tournament-style format. It's all to get us to these series, to get us to these points, Bob, where we do get a great back and forth, a great battle. And I like to toot the horn of VRML from time to time, and this is certainly one of those moments where we've had a stellar opening set for EU with Acer and Ragnarok, and now we're getting another amazing battle between IV and Immortality.
Well, we'll see if they can make use of that Viper to find a pick. I have a feeling Antbutt is going to try and and find some Vezins early. Yeah, they're all the way over by broadcast room. They're bringing that Viper on the roam with them. Now we will see if Immortality does detect Amp, but yeah, they're gonna try and drone out broadcast. They don't spot Antbutt. So now this leaves the door open for Antbutt to potentially find some picks here on Immortality. Now 2 minutes 20 seconds on the clock. Zav, Mad, Sam Smith all developing over into lobby right now. Sam Smith watching that flank, and Ampa now hears that the several Vezins that are fired. It's a double drone. Caramel tossing one of those drones, and Ampa is going for quite the flank here. This could devastate them, but at the same time, this could be a timing issue if Caramel gets off the drone fast enough. Itriz finds Niall. Wow, a good run out. And Carmel, I have a feeling it's going to run right into Antbutt here. Oh no, they drop. And Antbutt finds one. Can they find the second onto Zav? They're looking for it, but Zav doesn't find the kill onto Antbutt, who's now just rotating off. And we're in a 5 versus 3 on an eco round. Never write off an ecoing team, because we've seen a 5 stack of Vezins lose out to Ecoane, and we're just we see Itriz recover a Vezin of their own, and now there's a minute 15 on the clock.
I can't. Yeah, we should have known. We should have known. Nade's coming in. One connects. Karima goes down. 4v3. Slowly chipping away at the IVI defense. They have the utility. They have the economic advantage. They have 3 Vezins that they're going to use to push in on top of the flashbang. And they don't catch Wee Laddie with a double. Picks the Vezin up, and now Zav alone in a 1v4. Can they clutch it? Can't count him out yet. Wee Laddie goes down. Sights open.
It's a 1 versus 3. Down to Zav, the last member of their team, separating them from losing out map 1 against IV. Just half a minute on the clock, and who else is approaching quickly but Antbutt UK, who does go down to Zav, and it's now just down to that 1 versus 1 between them and Beaver. Beaver with a Taurus only. They're looking for the headshot, and Zav does it. Do it. Oh my goodness, what a save from Immortality. It looked like Ivy had that round. How did it fall apart so quickly?
It's the eco is how it fell apart, unfortunately. They just couldn't. Yep. They didn't have enough. Zav still, though, with 11-6 on the half, clutching things up, to say the least. And it's what you need when you're at this point, when you're at the top, when you're at the Final Four. You need to be able to clutch under pressure. And there's no more pressure than there is right now. You advance on, you go to the finals. You have a chance of competing for that huge cash prize pool. You lose, you're down to 3rd. And I love to see teams stepping up to the task. And what a clutch there from Zav to keep Immortality's hope alive and push us ever closer to the 6-6. Let's keep in mind, of course, where it puts IV's economy, because that was their eco round. And they did do a good bit of damage. Immortality is still safe for the next 2 rounds, but IV has enough to go all in here. And it's really do or die right now for IV. If they win here, they've got themselves the map. If they lose, I think we're headed to 6-6.
Yeah, it just kind of hit me. It's looking very real. You can see Immortality tie up this map as well and guarantee that we go to a 3rd map. If that's the case, I probably won't be able to stick around and see the end of it, because I will have to get ready for NA coming up very soon. But, I mean, yeah, this is going to be just a fantastic matchup here. It has been already, and now this is IV's chance to once again end things. Before Immortality can really tie up this map. But there's so much pressure right now. I mean, it's a 6-4 game, and IV, they've only got 2 frags. We see a lot of utility coming out from Immortality. Beaver and Itriz sitting on the broadcast hallway corner as Niall, Sam Smith making their way into upper lounge. There's the drone. There's the frag toss. Oh, that catches some damage onto Beaver, but they do manage to recover from that. The question is, will Niall find a pick onto Beaver? They're baiting out some shots, and we have a minute 50 on the clock as we're in a 4 versus 5 on round number 11.
I just don't know how I'm going to take today. It's going to overwhelm me. it's such an incredible weekend, and already such an incredible opener. The EU semifinals are delivering every step of the way, Bob, as we get into this one. Immortality down a player early, which they do not want, but we can never count squads out when we're at this set, when we're at this level. Whether it's an eco round or you're down a player or you're down 4 players, you can never count a squad out. And oh no, I don't know what that was tossed. I think that was a health syringe, and it fell all the way down off of the ledge. I don't think you can get that. I think that health syringe is gone.
Oh no! Really? Oh no! It might have reappeared.
Yeah, foot.
Because I believe it does do that. But look at this. Beaver's been such a menace and a thorn in the side for Immortality as Carmel does find the kill on a Garamu, dropping his second. Beaver there. They didn't realize there were 2 out in broadcast hallway. Niall almost goes down to Beaver, and we're in a 3 versus 3. Beaver rotating further back into the broadcast hallway. Are they going to manage to get back in broadcast? They do, but look at this. All of this stalling has paid off. There's only 30 seconds left on the clock, and IV still have the control that they need over the site. They still are tied on players with Immortality right now. Now just 20 seconds on the clock. They have to get that EMP in and planted soon. Wee Laddie forced to back off from that angle, but they do manage to find Zav. Niall looking to swing around. Carmel finds 1. Carmel finds 2. Can Carmel find the 3rd on the Wee Laddie? They do! They do find it! And it's a 6-5 game. Oh my goodness. Immortality are still in this round. There was almost no time left on the clock.
I almost just swore for the first time on stream. This is a ridiculous back and forth. Another insane clutch as IVI are just within reach. IV so close to taking this map. It's insane that we're this close to a tie in map 1, and it's. Oh, I have to go through the whole thing again with math soon if we do this. If we go 6-6, I gotta explain how the whole scoring system works because it changes it up. It changes how we determine our winner at the end of the day, outside of just map wins, which. I don't know what I prefer at this point. I guess the stress of the 6-6 is more exciting, but it's a stress for me, so it's... okay, it's all right. We'll be good. It's all good stuff. It's exciting stuff. And IV, just need 1 more, but they don't have the economy right now. They're down to 2 Vezins, 3 Vipers, some utility, a scraping of it, 2 grenades. So there's not going to be a ton of static emitters and stuff slowing down Immortality. Immortality fully stacked with double health syringe and all the utility they could ask for, going into the last round of the half to try and tie it 6-6.
2 minutes 40 seconds on the clock as Niall is making their way once again over to the lobby lounge window. And the rest of Immortality making their way around lobby. And again, IV are on a bit of an eco. Now they do have 2 Vezins up this time, so Beaver won't be left with just a Taurus to fend off Zav, but they are so close to finding a tie against IV, bringing us to a 3rd map. And again, really, I mean, I think we wrote off Immortality here earlier on in this matchup, but again, like Ragnarok, they are finding the success against IV. A minute 50 on the clock now. As Mad looking for some shots, looking for a potential pick at the end of the conference hallway. They don't find it, and they're stacking up outside of A with a minute 40 on the clock.
It's wow, what a map 1 opener in this best of 3, and these teams obviously very cautious about how they're advancing through here. I think those were shots given away on the back end there from the flanker. I think that gave their position away. Who was that on the backside? Amp, but I don't know if that was them or Carmel, but it would be odd for them to be shooting down from there this early and giving away their early flank spot. But they are really far away from objective, and they aren't necessarily right here to reinforce this defense. What a double kill! Karuma finds 2!
And Beaver goes down to Sam Smith. Itriz finds Zav, and we're into a 2 versus 4. Oh, Amput's going to catch Carmel. No, they don't. Carmel drops fire on themselves. What? Oh, no. This is not good for Immortality. Don't fizzle out like this.
Burnout would be I think, would be the proper term.
Yeah, I mean, that got very, very close to being just absolute devastation, and it still is. There's only 30 seconds left on the clock. Itriz drops Caramel, and on an eco round, what they couldn't do before, they might be able to do now as frags are tossed. Sam Smith, the last member of Immortality, standing in fine Kamu, but Wee Laddie on the refrag. Close call for IVNA, but they do go 7-5 in map number 1.
Oh, hey, we're not to IVNA yet, okay? This is IV EU. I know you're. I know it's hard to keep them separate. The IVIM is hard to. I get it, okay, but it's an impressive win nonetheless for IV as they open things up here, and they avoid the rounds being deterministic on who wins or loses for now. That could still happen if they tie 6-6 in map 2, but they have a map lead right now, Bob, as we get ready to dive into our second map of this series. I gotta wonder how Immortality's feeling, coming that close and not being able to push it all the way through.
Yeah, I think that's gonna hurt the mental, definitely. They came very close, like you said, and they just couldn't pull it all the way through against IV. This is going to put them in a pretty tough spot because IV can potentially bring this series home here on map 2 if they get that win. So I think now is the time, if you're Immortality, maybe call a timeout, maybe just take a look at those maps that IV play and decide where you want to go. They're going to have the opportunity now as the away team to pick which map they want to go to. Pick a map that they don't play very well on and you're confident in as a team, but it looks like they might be ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and give the teams the cue to start up.
If they are, then we might be able to keep you around for a little bit of the second map at least, Bob. If you're able to hang with us here. I know that we might have to see you go if this keeps going into that pre-show time for NA, because again, it all starts at about 1:30. Ultimately, you'll be jumping in and chatting with Martini, Heritage, and getting into the NA side of the pre-show. And 1:30 time from me is an hour and 15 minutes away from now. So as a reference point for everybody, NA starting in about an hour and 15. We're not done with the EU yet, though. We still got one more map to go, and I think we may be going into a bit of a pause, would be my assumption, from the IV side, as they have one drop out, and they're going to maybe bring in a sub, who knows. But off of a solid win, I think you'd want to keep your same roster and to keep that momentum going as Wee Laddie does reconnect, so there isn't going to be any swapping out on that side. And while we have a quick pause, another shout out to our sponsors. I've done it once already, but I like to do it each series. A shout out to Triangle Factory for contributing into that cash prize pool. It's what these players are competing for. At first and second place, a $1,900 in cash EU prize pool, $850 to second place. Shout out to HyperX, ProTube, and Helga, as I do have to speed through them because we aren't waiting around long, Bob. We are getting right into map 2. There are no timeouts. Both teams feeling good, obviously coming that close in that first map. And we're headed into Factory to decide how our series is going to unfold. Are we going to the third map, or will IV finalize things here in a two-map win series out of this best of 3? That is what's at stake. That's what's on the line. And we get to see Immortality starting on defense with IV on the attack. I don't know, Bob. I just don't know what to expect anymore on these maps between these teams. It's hard for me to lean into the metas because we are seeing unknowns. We are seeing dark horse picks that haven't been picked all season, stuff that is being done to throw their opponent off. And maybe we'll see more of that here on Factory. I'm trying to think, do we see anything new on? I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. There's always something new per se. You know what I mean? But I felt like maybe that B site push, if anything, the middle floor was new. But we're back to the top floor for our opener on Skyscraper, and IV gonna crack a few shells, crack a few doors, and get ready to breach what seems to be the A site.
Well, tapping into my vast wealth of breaches knowledge here, I believe this is a map that IV is very confident on. At least from when I've seen them play, they've been very dominant here. So we'll see if they can continue that. you know, that pace here on Factory, but Zav picks up a bit of damage. That's going to give Beaver a little bit of intel. A-tier frag there. But we do see Caramel rotating back into sight. But here comes the push, though. It's a two-prong, one through Blue Vending as Karamu already finding Nile, dropping one member of Immortality. Sam Smith, Caramel, and Zav looking to pick up the pieces here, but Itra is already getting that frag planted. Itra is going to pick up some damage. Weeladdie finds the kill on a Mad, and there's the EMP. It's been planted already. All 5 members of IV still alive, as they just need to defend that EMP for 45 seconds. They have so many numbers above Immortality here. They still haven't lost one player even, and Caramel is rotating. What are they doing? They're over rotating through assembly right now. Are they going to save? But look at this. They're chasing. They're going for that kill. They were hungry for it.
Maybe that's they're anticipating, trying to bait out Ivy. And hearing the footsteps now, they've tucked into a tight corner. I don't know that the Taurus necessarily excels at that tight corner, but, you know, we'll have to see if they can stick it right into the... I guess if you just push it right into the head of your opponent, you're not going to miss, right? So maybe the close quarters is where it can succeed. But yeah, it's crazy to see Ivy this hungry for a final kill. They won't find Carmel as close as they do get, but what an opener. I mean, that was drastically different, Bob, than what we saw on Skyscraper, where there's only 12 HP left with one opponent alive.
Yeah, I was going to say a very stark contrast between the openings for both this. Yeah, like I said, IV, this is a map that they're confident on. Let me take a look. Add the eco. There it is. As many Vesins as they can buy, they have bought. It looks like they've purchased, I think, 3 of them. Yeah, they're gonna take 3 of them into this round. Because, again, they're just confident with their offensive pace. They know, hey, we're going to buy 3 Vesins. It might be a bit of a risk to some teams, you know, because, you know, they could lose them. But it's not going to be a risk to our team because we can make it work. And, that's definitely the level of confidence that Ivy has. Even when I was interviewing them, they didn't really have a team that they were worried about. Yeah. They were just very confident in their skills, and I think it's really showing in their gameplay. They were able to turn a very sketchy situation for them around on Skyscraper and pull out a win there. And now that they're on a map that they're pretty confident with, I think we're going to see them really step up their game.
Oh boy, what a series that we have on our hands. And into the next round we go, round 2. The big buy for IV and our middle floor OBJ. Curious to see what the IV setup will look like, but interestingly enough, Immortality really off of sight, and an opportunity maybe for IV to play a bit faster than normal or get caught out.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to have somebody faithfully watching lockers there. Karma picks up a lot of damage from that frag as Beaver opens up the round with a pick onto Zav, and Sam Smith looking at the gravel window. Itriz is just tucking there, waiting for the right time to strike. Sam Smith goes down to Amp, but Garamu finds Caramel, and we're down to a 1 versus 5 already. Did Niall didn't get droned? Look at this right now. I mean, the drone is just above Niall. It missed them. It hasn't seen Niall at all. That's got to be one of the craziest. Oh no, Niall's gonna find a pick right here on the Weeladdie. Oh, but Weeladdie baited it, but it doesn't matter. Niall still found that kill. And if you're Weeladdie there, you're probably wondering how on earth did that drone not see Niall there? But in any case, it's it's a quick 2-0 for IV.
Yeah, it is, and it's dangerously quick, I would say, as IV are on the attack on Factory and in a very clean lead, confidently there. Immortality, I don't know that their disconnect impacted them in that round because I think they were dead already, but they did unfortunately have a DC there at some point in that series as well. And so whatever's happening, Immortality need to refocus here because they really did bounce back strong in map 1. They had a great comeback. They almost pushed at 6-6, which would have made every round more important, but they didn't. And now it's really just map wins that's still, still map wins. That's going to be the deterministic factor on our victor this afternoon. And you really, I don't know. It's every round at the end of the day, I suppose, matters. Because if you do tie 6-6, then it does come down to rounds. So you want to, it's hard. But the opening set, regardless, goes to Ivy, and a nice opener from them. They invest heavily, and it pays off, thankfully, for the Ivy squad, because sometimes you lose 3 rifles, Bob, and then everything's in shambles.
Yeah, oh yeah, I think you and I are both very familiar with something like that happening, you know, where a team goes in with a bunch of Vezins. It seems like they should win that round, and then they lose one early, and it just gets completely flipped back on them. But yeah, Ivy is just not a team that really falls, you know, for that trend. They're very good at keeping those Vezin players up and alive. And again, they're going to carry that offensive momentum as much as they can throughout this first half. Now we'll see if they can continue to keep this up now that Immortality have those Vezins up. But 2 minutes 10 on the clock, and still no pick here in round number 3.
Taking their time, making sure they get all the info they can with that drone, taking control of the outside of B, making sure there's no utility like trip mines or static audio transmitters that'll give away positions. Antbutt set up nicely, and here comes the pinch, perfectly timed as Interest springs their trap on the back and picks up a double. Now there's only 3 left for Immortality, and they've lost control of B. Mad fortunately finds one with a trip mine. A nice simulation nade pushes Zav off of the angle they want to hold, enabling more control over site. Zav does challenge, but takes huge damage on the cross over that immolation nade.
Shout out to Angel, who showed us those trip mine spots that worked against Karamu here in the EU semis. Itriz, however, I mean, they just had a beautiful flank. They walked right in, found 2 picks, and now they're sitting right on big blue box, and they find a third on a Mad. Zav looks for the refrag. They do find it, but they get refragged in turn by Beaver as Niall now playing center, and they're just caught as they swing 2 IV players. It's a hat trick for IV as they move ever closer towards that first half lockout.
Oh, we saw Ivy do something similar last map, and look how that map came down to the wire, you know? So attacking set, sure, going good, but maybe we'll see that swap mean everything for Immortality. And Immortality not out of this yet. I do think a 4-2 is in the future here for IV, considering the Eco coming up, but we've also seen Ecos surprise us today already. So I'm not going to count this team out by any means, but it certainly is Ivy in control by every metric. They got the economy, they have the momentum, they're coming off of a map 1 win, and there's a lot that Immortality have to battle back against on top of the pressure of their season being of them being out of contention for the money, going down to that 3rd place matchup tomorrow instead of that finals matchup. It's all something that gets factored in at the end of the day, and it's pretty hard to deal with as a squad, you know, and it's why we like to watch the best of the best get put under that level of pressure and get carved into diamonds, essentially, where we then see 2 diamonds battle out against each other in the grand finals, which is, I mean, at this point, what we're going to get. If IV advance on, they'll be going up against Ragnarok, and Bob, I'm looking forward to that series.
Yeah, and really quick, I just got some information here. We are doing a giveaway for HyperX headsets and VRML con tickets that's happening right now.
I did want to avoid announcing that for the EU portion, at least, simply because it's not available for EU. You're only available to qualify for that HyperX headset in North America. So unfortunately, you can't support the EU side on that giveaway. And obviously, if you do win that ticket, you'll be attending VRML Con in North America at Denver, Colorado, July 20th and 21st. But we'll get into that giveaway more on the NA side of things as we dive into this next round.
Yeah, and we have, well, I mean, we're already well into this round. We're a whole minute in, just 2 minutes on the clock right now. SMGs in the hands of Immortality, as Carmel does have that healing syringe. But, I mean, IV are so stacked, and they have a ton of money as well. They really haven't lost too many players here. I mean, you know, if we saw that scoreboard, a total of 3 kills across all players on Immortality right now, as IV have just really been running away with this first half here. They're developing into war room right now as Beaver finds Sam Smith 1.5 minutes on the clock. Mad might go down here. They are playing on bomb right now. Zav, oh my goodness, Amp but finding Mad. Nile takes out Weeladdie, but it's still a 4 versus 3 with 1:15 to go. Zav swings down. They do manage to find one. Beaver almost goes down, but they do secure that kill.
Always have your hand on your rifle when you're planting the EMP. That's the lesson learned right there, as Beaver one-handed their opponent down on that corner, and EMP does finally get stuck as Nile and Carmel are alone on defense, and Immortality not having a good time trying to hold down this IV and their momentum.
And that EMP is quickly ticking down. Beaver finds Nile. Amp but UK on the gravel window, and it was just swinging in. I mean, just look at the movement there. And they find the kill onto Carmel. It's a 4-0 game. And yeah, we're looking at a whole new IV, really. I mean, this is very different from how things went on Skyscraper. Immortality was in the game there, but so far they're just really, really struggling for pace.
Yeah, and well, you know, again, 4-0 for IV is strong, and you know, to the point, I suppose we can still promote the giveaway if you do want to get involved in it now, and you are in North America, then you can enter in. It's on the social media website. Actually, it's on, I think the link, I can link it in chat right now. I guess I'll be ahead of the time. Maybe I'll be doing it while Bob's talking about it. But it is on Bitly HyperX VRMLCon 2024 giveaway. You can register multiple entries into that giveaway simply by following HyperX on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, following the Breachers VRML social media accounts as well. All of that will get you entries in for a chance at that free VRMLCon ticket and a HyperX headset exclusively given away for the North American participants. If you're in EU, you cannot enter in to that giveaway for the HyperX headset, so worth noting. But you can enter in, but you won't win, I guess is the point. But regardless, we do appreciate folks that do want to enter in now, and we'll be talking more about that when the NA stream fires up in what is now a couple of minutes, about 35 minutes, 45 minutes away from us getting ready to dive into that North American pre-show. But we're still far away from that in the minds of IV.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught that, but Zav and Sam Smith were so close to getting both taken out by a frag grenade. Good movement there from Immortality. They've got 5 Vesins again, not too much utility, but Karamu finding Zav early into the round. Mad finds Beaver, but it's a 4 versus 4 with 2 minutes on the clock. Now, there are some trip mines set on that cubby wall. Frag toss by, oh, Riz walked. Okay, no, they did take out the trips. Karamu finds the kill onto Mad. Incendiary's toss. Riz looking to get that EMP planted. It's a 3 versus 3. Weeladdie does take out Nile, shutting out that flank as there's now just 1:40 on the clock. EMP has been planted. Sam Smith finds Karamu, and we're into a 2 versus 2. But the positioning favor is in advantage of IV. Karma looking to try and shut off Weeladdie, but it's too late, and they already got back up to the roof. Carmel, however, finding it, Riz, and now this is the big test because Weeladdie just has to sit on the roof. They hear that EMP sound effect, and they shoot. And now we're in a big game of cat and mouse. If Weeladdie is going to manage to find Karma, who is going to push that, but the movement from Weeladdie is that EMP, even if Weeladdie goes down now, it's too late. There's not enough time to defuse that EMP. And that's it. It's a 5-0 game with IV now just 2 rounds away from kicking Immortality out of the postseason. And yeah, to your point, Nightfire, I might not have to leave early after all.
You might not. Immortality really having a tough time on their defensive half here, no less. When we swap sides, they'll go on to the attack, obviously. That's not happening yet as we do get into the final round of the half, but that will happen after this round. And IV are very close to a perfect 6-0 half, very close to a 7-0 map 2, very close to advancing on to the grand finals tomorrow up against, not Acer, but Ragnarok, who won earlier this afternoon. I think a lot of folks surprised by that outcome. I see people coming in. What was the scoreline between Acer and Ragnarok? What happened? I'm hearing the buzz in chats, and I missed something. And you missed something as Ragnarok really stepped up to the plate and delivered Acer EU their first loss all season long. IV not looking to add on another loss, and I think it's interesting, worth noting, I think IV's only 2 losses have been to Acer EU. And so if that's the case, at least one of them has been. And if that's the case, then
yeah, I know one of them
it's worth considering that, you know, this IV squad may be, you know, as much of a threat to Ragnarok if they advance on as Acer was at the end of the day. So the grand final is definitely set up to be a spectacular series, and if Immortality bounced back here, I think they'd be able to contest Ragnarok just as well, but they have to bounce back, and they have to start right now.
Yeah, their first loss was to Acer EU, and the second was a forfeit to Cheeky Breachy. I don't know if they could get enough people for that, so it ended up having to fall in the favor of the other team. But yeah, I mean, they've been dominating all season here, and they're still looking very, very strong. Remember, this is the number 2 team against the number 3 team. Look at that S-tier frag from Beaver, as Niles also caught by Karamu. Mad does secure a refrag, but it's a 4 versus 3. Zap picks up a lot of damage. They tried to play flank, and they did manage to secure a pick onto Amp, but they are going to be refragged by Beaver. And it's a 2 versus 3. However, Beaver's pretty low on health here. They do have a heal, but yeah, it's again, uphill battle for Immortality here.
Yeah, certainly. Certainly uphill as nades, utility, everything coming in to try and deter the defense from peeking their angles. That's one thing that's really stood out to me. The use of the nades coming in from IV has been exceptional, and from all the way down into those flame nades where you are getting great zoning away from your defense. And as they rotate to A, Mad also considering re-peeking here and could run in to Idris.
And it's now just down to Carmel, who's surrounded on all 3 sides. They do manage to free up one side, and it's now a 2 versus 1, and Idris finds the kill to make it a 6-0 first half lockout for IV. Just one more, and they're moving on to the finals tomorrow.
I put no faith in 6-0s at this point in my day. I don't believe in a 6-0. I don't believe that it means that you're close to a win. I think it still means you have a long way to go, because that's what it tends to happen in this postseason, is getting this last round is the hardest. And it's because of how the snowball effect works, the economy management works, and that if you win your pistol round, you have an advantage distinctly on economy going into the second round, where you can buy in bigger, and that gets you 2, and then that's momentum into your side, and then you can kind of start running away with it. If you win the 3rd round, you get the 4th win. It's a sequential thing here and there and here and there. And little mistakes are the way in for Immortality here. IVM need to simply play a clean defensive round on their pistol set here and not go crazy or get over aggressive.
IVIM.
I'm sure they hate us for it. It's IV. It's IV. It's said IV. We're just joking around with the different ways to say it. It's IV. But
all 3 of their names. No, that's great. I love their different naming combinations. But yeah, this is their opportunity to close off this game. And I mean, you know, they put up a good defense on Skyscraper. It wasn't quite as strong as their offense is, so maybe this is Immortality's chance to turn things around here. But the pressure is on, and it's all coming down to this Nile looking to swing into blue hallway. Look at Ampa, though, waiting for somebody. However, they weren't able to find a kill there. They managed to put those. Beaver took out to Carmel. Mad finds Ampa, and we're already down to a 2 versus 4, as it's just Sam Smith and Mad left, and they both have almost no health. Mad manages to get Karamu, but we're down to a 1 versus 3, and it's a 7-0 shutout for IV EU. They're moving on to face Ragnarok tomorrow in the EU finals. What a game of breachers from this team.
I mean, what a day for EU. A amazing Season 2 semifinals that is filled with surprises and some expected results with Acer EU losing to Ragnarok and then IV winning this afternoon. At least I'm right on half of my predictions on the day for IV's for the EU side, which I'm thankful for. But another amazing series to tune into, Bob, and I'm happy to have you at my side for what has been an amazing season 2. And a big shout out to the teams playing today, just how dedicated they are to all of this, to the competition, to playing and giving us what has been an amazing a weekend, an amazing start to what is a unfinished weekend. We got the grand finals tomorrow for EU alongside that third place match, which we'll start with. So third place and grand finals right around the corner, Bob. And we got a lot to look forward to there on that grand finals matchup in particular with, I mean, the third place match is kind of crazy too. Acer EU versus Immortality. That'll be a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have Ragnarok versus IV for the grand finals.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, we're gonna see even more good games. And yeah, I mean, to your point, it's just been a phenomenal day for EU Breachers. You know, I mean, I've been watching this scene pretty closely. I casted quite a few EU games during the regular season, and you know, just immediately from when we started, I already could tell that we had just an amazing set of top teams that were going to be neck and neck this entire season. And this has really shown us, you know, I mean, we saw an Acer team lose today. We saw IV move on. And yeah, I think both Ragnarok and IV are going to be feeling pretty good after their wins today. We'll see what happens in their game tomorrow. Who's going to walk away as the Season 2 EU champions. But that's for tomorrow, but stay tuned because starting in about an hour from now, give or take, we will have our pre-show for the NA semifinals. And if things can be, you know, exciting enough, it's going to be even crazier because for NA, those semifinalists, whoever win those matches, they're going to VRML Con 2024, July 20th and 21st. I can't tell you how excited I am, Nightfire.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. You're not going to want to miss the NA VRML Con qualifier series that are coming up later today. It's going to be so incredibly hype. We have a giveaway going right now on social media that'll be persisting for like 6 weeks, where you'll get a chance each weekend to get your hands on either a VRML ticket or a VRML ticket and a HyperX headset. So sign up now, register, follow all the links. Get all of the entries you can into the raffle, and you'll get chances at getting some free tickets or a pair of HyperX headsets. It's an awesome giveaway, courtesy of HyperX, and we really appreciate their support, obviously, to the VRML. It's like we do with all of our sponsors, Triangle Factory, ProTube, and Helga, all contributing into the Season 2 and making it as spectacular as it has been. A big shout-out to the sponsors as well. That'll be it for us here on the EU side. Again, about an hour from now, we'll be starting up in the pre-show for the NA, so you're not going to want to miss it. Subscribe to the channel. Come back. I think we're over 2,000 subscribers, so a big shout out there as well. But it'll be it for me and Bob. We need a quick break. We need to get some lunch. We need to get ready for NA. So until then, stay classy, and we'll see you tomorrow for the finals. Reachers VRML is brought to you by Helga, the esports manager, Triangle Factory. Thanks for watching VRML.